Of uniformed personnel, some businessmen who may be using their influence and wealth, and even some supporters of the revolution who in their zeal encourage excesses in the various exercises we have embarked upon. The total sum of these activities constitute a challenge of threat to the security of the country. To combat this, we must strengthen the solidarity of the forces, strengthen discipline, and reinforce combat readiness. The Armed Forces Revolutionary Council has set about this task, and we assure the nation that we are ready to deal with any threat to the nation. In this connection, the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council wishes to issue a serious warning to all those who may wish to take the law into their own hands. The maintenance of law and order is a paramount objective of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, and it will ensure this with all the vigor and zeal at its command. Fellow countrymen, through the efforts of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council and with the cooperation of the nation, we have achieved some success in forcing prices down to more tolerable levels. We intend to maintain the momentum so that the ordinary man will reap the full benefits of our concerted actions. But our ability to do this will depend not only on the cooperation of all, but also on hard work and increased productivity. Additionally, we of the armed forces and the police must regenerate confidence in the people. Let them feel that we are their protectors and not their oppressors. Our farmers in particular must be encouraged and made to feel that they will be assisted and not harassed when they bring their food to the marketplaces. We of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council regard this as a pledge to them. Questions have been asked about the future. Let me make our position clear once again. When we decided to reappoint the civilian commissioners to their post, and to entrust them with the administration of the government machinery, that did not mean that everything was all right in the civilian sector. All aspects of the house cleaning exercise are well in hand. More than this, we did not want to interfere with the process towards civilian rule. This has been underscored by the holding of the general elections on schedule and by our various consultations with the political parties aimed at ensuring a smooth transition to civilian rule. Finally, let me address an appeal to you all, citizens and friends of Ghana, wherever you may be. Our nation is passing through the most crucial period of her history. There is a need for understanding and sympathy of our problems. While we seek to redress the wrongs of the past, we remain committed to the ideals of human dignity that Ghana has subscribed to since independence. In this connection, we assure the law-abiding foreign nationals in our midst that they will enjoy the same protection and rights within the law as Ghanaians. This protection will, however, not be extended to foreign nationals who insult the dignity of the Ghanaian. Foreign nationals who treat their Ghanaian workers with contempt will be kicked out. We have taken note of the appeals for restraint from the world community, especially those from our sister African states. We wish to assure them that in the spirit of brotherhood and African unity, we would heed their advice. In the same spirit, we expect our friends to make a close and sincere study of the peculiar problems that face us today and to be a little more accommodating. Let us close our ranks and together strive to achieve these noble aims and prepare the ground for a better tomorrow. Countrymen, you're either a part of the problem or a part of the solution. Thank you.
Monday, June 4th, 1979 was a rainy morning. the political campaign towards elections, presidential and parliamentary, for the Third Republic was in full swing. J.J. Rawlings and the coup plotters of May 15th were behind bars. And then suddenly, a coup arrived. The generations of Ghanaians who were living in Ghana at that time were those who had had close proximity to the riots of 28 February 1948, the political tensions of the First Republic, the coup d'etat of 1966, and had also heard and seen the excellent speeches of Prime Minister Buzia. And they, that group, had largely orchestrated civil disobedience to force strongman Kutu Achampon to hand over to civilian rule. This was the generation that mobilized professionals under the PMFFJ to unseat military rule. So on the morning of 15 May, everyone was angry that another coup was occurring when everything was ready for constitutional rule.
Now, the reaction to that attempt all around the country, from all our reporters, was, oh, please, these soldiers, we are tired. What's this? We are going back to civilian rule. We are going to have elections. Why is somebody trying to stage a coup again? That was the general impression. And I believe even among the military at the time.
This anger of the people against coups must have been the reason why the AFRC was forced to maintain the order to hand over power soon after the June 4th revolution. So a complicated calendar emerged. The coup occurred on June 4th. Parliamentary and presidential elections were fought on the 18th of June. The executions were carried out on the 26th of June. The second round of the presidential election occurred in July, and the handover to civilian rule occurred in September. All of this in 1979, a dramatic June to September for all of Ghana's history. So what was the June 4th coup about, and who organized it?
The June 4th uprising was the brainchild of rank-and-file soldiers. No officer, and I repeat, no officer, was involved in its initial stages. It was born out of years of frustration and anger with the officer corps, whose frequent military interventions, mismanagement, and ineptitude had brought our country almost to its knees. Our soldiers wanted to protest against the dictatorship of their superiors.
Be that as it may, was the coup also intended by J.J. Rawlings to be a political advert for the future? Was J.J. launching a bigger political career beyond the rhetoric and the choboy of a revolution? Here is Elizabeth Ohene, who was editor of the graphic at the time.
Flight Lieutenant Rawlings said to me that, he was going to lead the group of soldiers that were going to see off General Akufo at the airport. Because General Akufo, having become chairman of the SMC2, that day he was going to, I think, the Gambia and Senegal. And Flight Lieutenant Rawlings said to me that, he was going to be the officer who was going to lead the guard of honor at the airport. Could I please make sure that the graphic cameras capture this? So at the meeting, the morning meeting where we send out reporters and such, I declared an interest. I said to my colleagues at the meeting that I have an interest. There's a friend of mine who is going to lead the detachment that will see off the guard of honor for General Akufo. That can the cameraman who is going please make sure that they take a photo of him? It's called Flight Lieutenant Rawlings. And everybody laughed. And we put this picture of Flight Lieutenant Rawlings leading the guard of honor detachment on the front page of the graphic. A few days later, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings stages or attempts to stage a coup May 15th. This is a few days later. So that day, as it happened, the graphic was the only person that had a photo of the person who had tried to stage the coup. And why did we have a photo? Because we had photographed him leading this detachment at the airport. That's the only reason we had the photo of him.
Who then was the AFRC and how was it formed?
Apparently, Captain Edmond Koda had recently said, and I read it in the papers, that the AFRC was formed in a classroom. I won't dispute that, because we were in a lecture hall. We were in a lecture hall at the Air Force Base, and I believe that was where the AFRC was formed, and of course in my absence. And then news came through that Broadcasting House had been recaptured by Major Suleimana and some of his Reki elements. So I decided, well, what I started has got to be finished. So I'm going to go out and deal with this new threat.
Justice Kwame Afre talks about how the AFRC operated.
The AFRC government consisted of two main organs. The AFRC itself, made up of the chairman, as Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, then the deputy chairman, Osahene Wachijan, about 4 commissioned officers, and I think a majority of people of other ranks. And then there was a council of commissioners, which consisted of the commissioners or ministers who run the ministries. As Osai himself said, they inherited us from SMC2. Now, in between these two organs, the FRC installed the liaison officer. I think the name is a bit long, but liaison officer, in the person of General Joshua Hamidu, through whom the two organs occasionally communicated. The FRC met and took its decisions without consulting the commissioners. I cannot recall that the FRC and the council ever met together. With your permission, I'd just like to contrast this with what happened in the SMC. The SMC, now the Supreme Military Council, consisted.
If you bring it to the local balance, country broke, country no broke, we all day inside, and we are the makers or the breakers of that country. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ghanaians, good afternoon and welcome to this special edition, special episode of what we call it, what I call a fire venue, the June 4th Revolution or Uprising special. With me this afternoon is the current chairman of UK NDC, UK and Ireland chapter of the NDC, Alasan Bamba. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something of a bit of a nostalgic moment and it is playing on my mind. So please pardon if you found me or hear me fumbling a bit. No, not scripted, nothing scripted here. It's our experience, the facts as we know it, as we were told, as we saw it. As we this afternoon, I lost my bearings completely. I didn't even turn my microphone on when I was going. But yeah, it is a special Sunday edition, a special edition of this, what we call it, June 4th Revolution, June 4th Uprising, which is coming to you from NFM Radio this afternoon. Like I said, I have with me Alhaji Alasan Bamba. He is the chairman of the NDC UK Ireland chapter, to discuss, to share our experience and, going forward, what June 4th means or what it was meant to be. For me, I have one word in my head, and it is awareness. The sense of prompting people to know what to do or to tell citizens that they are the country, they form the country, they form the actually, the embodiment of any nation, depends on its people and how they shape it. So, without too much talking, you know me, Mansa Musa, I can talk for England. Alhaji Alasan Bamba, yes. Good afternoon, welcome to NFM Radio.
Yeah, good afternoon, my brother Mansa Musa, and good afternoon to my fellow comrades within the UK and Ireland chapter and the entire NDC political party across the globe, and to Ghanaians across the globe, because the significance of June 4th is to every Ghanaian and not only the NDC political party. It's very, very significant in the sense that it laid a foundation for our current democratic dispensation. So when we are talking about June 4th, is to remind ourselves about the conditions that led to that June 4th uprising and how significant that day or that revolution continues to play in Ghana after 44 years. Even though the person who led the revolution, late President Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings, is no more, but June 4th spirit is still relevant to whatever we are trying to achieve as a country. So I'll urge those listening now to share the link and to remind their friends and families to tune in, to listen to what we have to share with our fellow countrymen and women today.
Right, that was Alhaji Alasan Bamba with a such, short speech, at least for now. I think we are going to hear more and more and more from him. This afternoon, we have the main speakers. I am the host. Thank you. The main guest here in the hostel is, like I've said, or you heard his voice already, Alhaji Alasan Bamba, NDC, current NDC UK Ireland chapter chairman. And the next will be Mr. Amenshia Ambrose. He will join us via the phone, and our lady colleague, Madam Barbara Asamoah. Yeah, so, but that,
Barbara Asamoah, just to add, she's the Deputy General Secretary, one of the Deputy General Secretary of NDC. So it's important you mention her title.
Okay. So there you go. She is the Deputy General Secretary, Barbara Asamoah. She will also join us via the phone later on. Well, the talking is not limited to we here in the studio alone. You can join us anytime on the studio telephone lines. Some of you know it by heart. For those of you who don't know, if you are in the UK here, it's 0208 123 5911 and 07876 251 261. If you are outside Ghana, outside UK, just add 44 plus 44 and the main number, and you'll get to me. Plus 44 7876 251 261 is also a WhatsApp. So you can call us from Accra, Kumasi, anywhere, and you don't have to pay anything except your credit on internet. So take a note, and join us. I would love to have a lot of different people calling in, whether you are for or against, whether you supported the June 4th and still support, whether you supported previously and now regretted, or you have regretted supporting it, or whether you've never seen eye to eye and never understood the need for it. You can call in at any time to share your opinion. But this afternoon, I'm always here at the night. So this afternoon is all about the June 4th uprising, the revolution. I know where I was very, very well. And believe me, I was either 20 or 17, depending on which birth certificate you give me.
So do you have multiple birth certificates?
You see what I mean?
Or are you the chief executive of the National Cathedral?
Are you?
Okay.
Are you? You see? You see where we are going?
Are you a friend to him?
You see where we are going and where we are coming from?
I understand he has multiple IDs.
Yeah.
And that's what would have led to his execution under June 4th. What kind of a criminal act? But anyway, as you said, we have a lot to discuss today.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much indeed for that. So, those of you who say you are having light problems with YouTube, please bear with us. My engineer is behind the scenes sorting it out. It's like flicking a bit, but he will definitely sort it out. And tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell everyone to either subscribe, come to the Facebook, or join us on the radio app. You can get us on Ghana, Modern Ghana, and the links that I've been sending if you want to be part of the discussion. I'm sure everybody wants to be part of the discussion. Let's go once again and listen to the previous, where are we in here? The previous message that I was playing. Yeah, I can see my engineer sorting that flicking out, so hopefully we will be all right. You are listening to Mansa Musa. If you're asking yourself, why are you talking today on radio? Because we hear or we know you don't come to radio on Sundays. The answer is we need to talk about June 4th. It's very important. You see, not quite long ago, many of us, not all of us, but many of us had already started thinking that, maybe, we have moved on. It was even becoming unfashionable. People were shying away, talking about revolution, uprising. People didn't feel comfortable to even be associated with June 4th uprising because we have been, the previous years, we've had this education of, or the mentality, the stigma that June 4th was bad. It was about beating people with no cause. It's about booga booga and all that. But as they say, nothing happens in a vacuum. Goodness me, nothing happens in a vacuum. If June 4th wasn't necessary, or if nothing had triggered it, lo and behold, it wouldn't have, it wouldn't have happened. It never would have happened, never. But because the need or something had to, trigger the events. For some of us who, let's say, either in elementary school, primary, or even Saito middle school, you should have the idea that at that time, it was all about, the competition to live. I'm using the word, you compete to live. One will say, but we are still competing to live. No. It's not like that. This time we are competing because, okay, you can say we are competing to live. This time the difference is that the opportunities are there. The opportunities abound. In fact, if you want to speak to the world and you don't want to go and pay money and sit on a radio or TV station, you can find yourself in so many media sort of things and sit down and talk or stand and dance, anything, sing your own song and everything. The opportunities are there. So you can make it relatively easy compared to those times. Those times is what you can physically see, or what you can physically be given is what you can have. And believe me, when you don't have it those days, it was that bad. People felt, my dad was in the army. And my dad was sent to Britain here after 69, 70, 71 to UK as a diplomat. So I can say inverted commerce, I was in a middle class family because we had black and white TV, we had fridge with a freezer. In fact, I used the freezer to do my science lessons. Those days, they will give you a homework to practice some, to do some laboratory work, something, and you bring it home, you get clay, you get a Coca-Cola bottle, you put water, you put clay, you put a funnel in, you see the bottle is empty, you put a funnel, then you use clay to seal the side of the funnel and the bottle. Then you try to pour water. You see that the water drops with difficulty. It shows that for the teacher, even in elementary school, since I've never forgotten, he said air exists wherever there's empty space on this earth. Wherever there's empty space, air exists there. So to prove it, when you seal the neck of the bottle for the air to escape, the moment you pour the water through the funnel, you see that the water and the air is squeezing. Air is trying to come out, the water is trying to go in. It's very deep, it drops. The moment you release the side of the clay, then you see the water going. That shows that there was air in the bottle. You see what I mean? Saito even were taught properly. So that was it. But we had fridge, we had black and white TV. My dad, in fact, was the first person to bring British instrument, Marshall instrument was what we call amplify, and the speakers and the rest. And we were hiring. He was hiring it to concert bands, even the military bands. Sometimes they come and hire our instrument. So relatively, I won't say we were rich, but even then, I remember very well. At a point, my father had to sell the taxi because when it spoils and you repair, it's better you travel back by ship those days to London and buy a new one. So to repair alone, that was how hard the country was. Everything was nowhere to be found. And this one we are not talking about, it was before Rollins came. The military juncture of Kutua Champon, may God put him somewhere nice. Because that man decided that we should do union government. Union government. Thinking that today, even that concept is very viable. But Ghanaians refused. He was overthrown. Then Rollins...
Did Ghanaians refuse?
Well, officially, on paper.
On paper, but you see, I will come to why June 4th.
Talk.
Because there is that school of thought that if plans were far advanced to return Ghana to constitutional rule, then why June 4th? But you see, the junior officers led by Jerry Rawlings had intelligence that it was just a plan to perpetuate military rule in Ghana. Because the results of the Gulf referendum, Ghanaians overwhelmingly rejected it. You know, late Isaac Abam, who later on became the Chief Justice of Ghana, was the electoral commissioner that conducted the Gulf referendum. And the political scientists will tell you that the results was overwhelmingly no. But at a gunpoint, he was forced to declare the results yes. He refused, and he fled and left the country. Somebody was then appointed by the government of late General Champong, and then the results was declared yes. So, but his second in command, General Akufo, knew that the results was no, and which led to the palace coup, and General Akufo took over. We'll come as we advance in today's discussions today. For me, today is not about celebration. We can't celebrate. It was a revelation. Of course, in every revelation, there are excesses. There were excesses, so we can't celebrate. All what we are trying to do today is to review our political history, to appreciate, to understand what led to the June 4th, to see if we can learn lessons from that to prevent something like that happening in our dear country again.
Ihadu, I want to say yes. I hope it won't happen. But the thing is...
No, it won't happen, because I'll tell you why as we advance. I mean, there were excesses, no two ways about it. So I'm repeating, because there's that argument over the years that we are celebrating over the death of people's relatives. No one is going to celebrate over the death of anybody. My relative, my auntie's husband was killed in Tamale. He was killed. So these are some of that. It touched every family. But you see, we have what we call in social sciences, what we call appreciative inquiry. In every situation, in problem solving, if something is, you are trying to analyze problem, you need to look at the positive of the June 4. Then rather emphasizing on only the negative. In every situation, there's always the positive and the negative side of it. I'll reserve my comment for now, and as we advance, I'll try to explain why it wasn't all that bad. But yes, we need to also mourn and be unhappy about the excesses while trying to emphasize the positive outside of the June 4th revolution.
So, to ask you, you say excesses. Obviously, in every uprising all over the world, from the Chinese throughout to the French, even here in the UK, American Revolution, Civil War, you call it, Russian Revolution, almost everywhere that civil uprising has taken place, there's bound to be, mighty capital, what do we call it, people who will lose in that respect. And of course, the general or the overwhelming importance, I wouldn't say joy or anything, importance of whatever event took place. You see, the reason why, for me, I think the reason why even people talk about excesses and the rest is that it looks as though, that's my view, it looks as though that particular uprising has or did actually promote nothing of value to emulate going forward. That's how it looks. Instead of us, as a people, creating something positive out of it, like they did in Britain. When the monarchy saw that, look, people wanted something similar to what is happening elsewhere, they changed. They gave all their powers to politicians. Yes. Then they stayed back, even though it's not perfect, but at least there was that change. After the war, these people practice more socialism. They built council flats. They did this NHS and the rest and the rest. It is, you have to change from, if the monarchy had stayed, they would have kicked them out.
Yeah.
The French also changed after their revolution. Now they are almost capitalists, but certain aspects of the revolution, they are living on it or living by it. Why is it that we alone, it looks as if that awareness I was talking about, for people to start thinking that, look, when you take bribe, I take bribe. When you can pay me before I do something that I've been paid already, this country is not going to go anywhere. If someone tells you this, even if the person later, became even corrupt, let's put it in that way, still that idea, it should stick that no, we have to do the right thing. So why have we failed completely?
I don't think we have failed completely. It would be unfair to conclude that June 4th is a complete failure. For me, one important lesson we have learned as a country in trying to resolve our economic and political and social issues is that we shouldn't resort to the barrel of the gun. No matter how hard it is, let's exercise patience and effect the change through peaceful and through the ballot box. Mansa Musa, had it not been June 4th, what is happening in Ghana today would have exploded. And we wouldn't know what would have happened. June 4th was just a revolution. We would have plunged the country into serious civil political unrest. But because of the lessons that we have learned, the excesses, which people are still worried, day in, day out, if upon all what we did in the name of June 4th, today we are seeing tenfold, hundredfold of the issues that preceded the June 4th, then we should not go through that line again. Let's leave it. Ghanaians are enlightened. They will know how to cast their vote, and then we can effect the change through constitutional means. So had it not been the June 4th, I don't think myself and you today would have been sitting down here talking about June 4th. Maybe Ghana would have evaporated. We have seen what happened in other countries. But rallies came in to stabilize the situation, and we can't decouple June 4th from 31st December revolution, because the June 4th gave birth to the second coming of Jerry, and because of the lessons of June 4th, when he was going to return the country to constitutional rule, he did not invite only lawyers, doctors, the bourgeoisie to draft our constitution for the Fourth Republic. He went to the grassroots, the ordinary Ghanaian, the taxi drivers, the fishermen, the farmers, the Makula women. They met through late Justice D.F. Anna, who went around the country and collated the views and wishes of Ghanaians. And that was discussed as the National Consultative Assembly, and they finally came out with the 1992 Constitution, and otherwise the Fourth Republican Constitution. But because the ordinary people were behind the 1992 Constitution, it came to me as no surprise that it has been the longest constitution in the political history of Ghana. The first Republican Constitution, the 1960 Constitution, lasted for only 6 years, 1960 to 66. The second Republican Constitution, that is the 69 Constitution, lasted for only less than 3 years. The third Republican Constitution, the 1979 Constitution, that ushered in the Third Republic under the presidency of Dr. Hilary Liman, lasted for less than 3 years. But the 92 Constitution we are still counting. 92 till now, we are almost going to 30 of democratic rule in our country. So that is one of the benefits or the significance of June 4th. And we have been able to contain ourselves, our frustration, without resulting to another coup because of the lessons of June 4. So for me, it will be unfair to the legacy of Jerry to say June 4 is a complete waste of our time. It is very significant, but we still need to remember the excesses of the day, and that will prevent us from doing similar things or doing things that are even worse than what happened under the June 4 revolution.
Right. Let's go on to the phone line. Our colleague, Dr. Amansha, is here on the phone. So let's pick him on and ask him, welcome him and ask his views as well. Dr. Amansha, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mansa Musa.
And welcome to NFM Radio. I hope you've been listening to us from the very beginning.
Not really. I tuned in very late, but I had at least enough information from my chairman, Chairman Baba.
Thank you, Doc. How are you?
Good. And how are you too and the family?
I'm fine.
That's great. Can I go on?
Please go ahead. Everything is yours.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. And as my chairman said, June 4th cannot be rubbish under the carpet. It is a landmark in our political dispensation. And we are here partly because of June 4th. Mansa Musa, as Mbaba outlined, if you look at the causes that led to June 4th, we are experiencing the same today. Let's talk about issues to do with corruption then, and also acute shortage of food. But today, the difference is today, we have some food on the shelves in the market, but the sad aspect is you cannot afford it. And this was one of the reasons why the military took over. There was shortage of food. You see, we had what we called kalabule, smuggling, and racketeering. You see, our own people were duping their family and friends. And we are experiencing the same today. So I think that we've not learned from what led to the June 4th. Because if you compare today to June 4th, today is worse than what we experienced in June 4th. Because even in June, before the uprising, there were Ghana was experiencing famine, where there were not enough rains. So it affected the production of foodstuffs and others. And that contributed partly to the shortage of food. And the few that we had on the market were also being hoarded, in addition to other products and goods. And today, what are we seeing? Have we learned from that? And in any country, there's no country where you can forgo these timelines that we've experienced. You cannot do that. If you pick the developed countries, they hail such timelines that they've experienced, such activities that has happened in the course of their political dispensation. And someone will ask, why the June 4th? Was it justified? To me, in my opinion, it was justified then, and it is justified today. Because what we are experiencing in Ghana today is worse than what we experienced during 1979. But we are fortunate that we've not visited or we've not witnessed any coup d'etat or any attempt to overthrow the government, because we are now appreciating what we used to call a democracy. But hey, my brothers, let's forget that there was some time ago, no one thought La Côte d'Ivoire will experience a civil uprising. No one thought of that. But they were engulfed with civil war, all because of what we are experiencing here today in Ghana. Cronism, tribalism, corruption to the core. The government will go in for monies, borrow monies on behalf of the state, and they have nothing to show for. So the fact is, Ghana is just lucky that we've not witnessed another coup since this government even took over. Because all what is going on now, I can say for a fact that it is worse than what was going on during the 1971 and 1979 that led to the uprising. And I always try to, or attempt to advise our friends and families back home to ensure that this government is pushed to do the right thing, because look at what happened to the COVID fund. As I to speak, they cannot even account for the COVID fund. However, if you come to UK where we live now, even as I to speak, Boris Johnson is being pulled to account for all what happened, all what transpired during the COVID period. What about Ghana? But we are witnessing a scene where many are silent. The media is corrupted. Most of the media is corrupted. Not to talk of the clergy. All stakeholders are silent. What is more corrupt than what is happening to our forests, reserves, our water bodies in Ghana now? Is it not a form of corruption? This government deliberately initiated what you call community mining with the intent of doing the mining themselves. Now it is their cronies, it is their party foes that are engaging in this illicit activity, surface mining. Now if you discuss any issue to do with our water bodies in Ghana, apart from maybe the Volta River, all the rivers are gone. The rivers in my constituency, Tano and Cobra and rest, they are now dead rivers. You cannot even fish in the river. You cannot drink from the river. I remember there was a time I appeared on your program and I suggested that whenever the government, any government official visit any community, they should serve the person with the water from their rivers and streams. And they will learn a lesson, because we can't condone all this. We are aware of what is happening, the destruction that are being caused. So if you compare today to what happened in 1979, what we are experiencing now is worse. We've not learned a lesson from June 4th. We have not. So I would say that sometimes people prefer to say we should pray. This doesn't call for prayers. It calls for action from the people. Because you don't have to sit down for the water that our forefathers left for us to drink from, to use it for all our domestic chorus. We can no more use them. We used to drink from these streams when we go to farm, when we were young. Can we do it now? No. I'm not even going to I'm not going to refer to even any economic indicators. There's nothing to write home about. Nothing to write home about.
So,
just recently
for you, you have a different opinion or a reason to believe that another sort of uprising, I want to call it popular uprising, or rather be justified, right?
Yes, it will. It will be justified because the government is not listening. The more you speak out, the more they are doing the worst thing. The more you speak out, the more they are creating the mess.
No, I would beg to differ. I mean, as a political party, opposition party, waiting to form government, we don't condone and support any illegal means to effect change of government. My brother Doc made clear submission that as a country, it appears we have not learned from the lessons that led to the June 4th. Slightly, he's right, because the conditions that preceded the elections today, as I said earlier on, if you compare it to what we are experiencing today, it's almost 100-fold. But one thing that I think as a country we have learned, and I will emphasize on this, to always exercise patience and effect the change through the ballot box and not the barrel of the gun. Why? Because the excesses of June 4th, former head of states, civilians, lost their lives, and we thought that was the end. So, do we have to subject ourselves as a country to similar excesses, or even more than that, only to turn around and do worse things than we are currently experiencing? Let's exercise patience. I'm saying this because we all know what happens if there's a military coup d'etat or even civil unrest. The military government will come in and say, okay, we are suspending the constitution. All political parties suspended. Our NDC will cease to exist. And we are eager, we are ready to take government come 7 January 2025. Let's bear there's light at the end of the tunnel. All what we are pleading to Ghanaians, let the lessons of June 4th guide them as we head towards the 2024 election. And John Mahama, inshallah, will be re-elected, and he will build the Ghana we all want. The worst case scenario is even civil unrest, like civil war. The international community will not look unconcerned. They will come in and say, okay, all the warring factions, let's form a national a government of national unity. All political parties suspended, and will be forced to work and govern the country with the likes of Nana. Then we'll be back to square one. I don't believe in the winners take all, but that is what our constitutional arrangement is telling us now. We are going to win and win massively on 7 December 2024. Come January 2025, we'll have a full new government that will put the interests of Ghanaians first. The issue of tribalism, cronism, nepotism, the corruption will cease to exist in Ghana under the next NDC government. The pressure to return military dictatorship to constitutional rule was from external sources. Today our country is in crisis. We have to even go begging IMF for a bailout. We make a mistake and effect a change through military rule or maybe through civil arrest. The international donor community will not give us the needed financial support to turn our country around. I know it's very frustrating, and I know the situation seems to be hopeless, but with Mahama, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you very much.
You are listening to Mansa Musa. Before I go back to Dr. Mensha, let me remind you that any one of you can phone the Chairman, there is more water if you.
Yeah, I have water.
If you run out, I'll get you. I can see how you are drinking.
I mean, it's emotional. I honestly, I don't celebrate June 4 because I commemorate it. It's a memorial, a sober reflection of what. Anytime I think and read about it, I become too emotional. And I want listeners to be clear. We are not inhuman to sit here and be celebrating the excesses of June 4. But we need to learn lessons as a country if we want to build the country, the Ghana we all want.
You are listening to Mansa Musa. This is a special program. Usually, you will not find me here for all the tea in China on Sundays. But today, June 4th, 2023, is June 4th, 1979. So how many years? 40 years?
44 years.
Oh.
You see, because you have two date of birth like your friend.
Okay. So that is what we are here to discuss. Let me remind you that those of you listening, you can also join in the discussion. You can agree or disagree to whatever you are hearing or listening to. Right. So far, my take on this is that, well, it is all very well to say, okay, let's bear with. Let's, grit our teeth and wait for a good time that changes can come about through the ballot box, so to speak. But reality or experience will tell us that, our recent experience should tell us that, when at a time, even you can feel in the air, you can see that, the West, IMF, the World Bank, in a way, they have now even almost started, I can say, speaking for Akufo-Addo, for the government. Yesterday and the day before, this information is being bandied about as to the country director of the World Bank saying so many things. The things that he's saying honestly could have come from any MPP communicator. Very harsh words, even against the Mahama administration. So to think that, the democracy can prevail, and it will prevail. We all wish it did, or it would, but we must bear in mind that when the people are really fed up, the people have had enough, and I'm saying the people, I'm not talking about military coup, because sometimes civil disobedience, it happens in several places. Look, as we speak, I don't know about yesterday or today, the French people are having, they are running, pitch battles, street battles with the police almost every week for reasons or decisions that government has taken and they don't like. That civil spirit, if it erupts and, it erupts in Ghana due to, the lack of, let's say, hope to see anything better coming. For that reason, if it happens for me, I will say so be it. For the fellow who just called, the number you phone, we have two numbers. So where you have called, that's where Dr. Amenshia is sitting at the moment. So I cannot, or I could not pick your number, pick your call. If you have to call the other number, which is the mobile, 07-876-251-261, that is free. If you call that one, I will quickly take it and put you live on air. So please, I've given you two different numbers. And I'm even sure you, the fellow who called, might have my personal number. So try and call all the numbers you have. When you call one and I don't pick it, that one is busy. Dr. Mensha, so obviously, whether good, bad, or indifference, June 4th, 1979 happened, like I said previously from the very beginning, I said I knew where I was and what I was doing. Dr. Mansa, June 4th, 79, where were you and what were you doing?
I was young and I experienced what the nation went through. Okay? And I beg to differ with my chairman's opinion.
Before you go on to that, I want to share personal experiences. So tell us specifically, because for me, I know I was in Flagstaff House, staying with my dad. They buy for you to eat, so you don't think so much. No big responsibility. Even though electricity was charged to my father's wages or salary from the army, we found it to be free. We had water to be free. I do a little bit of garden here and there, you know, but plant cabbages, I plant what we call onions, tomatoes, pepper, those kind of things, you know, from the Operation Feed Yourself spirit up to at that time. And I said I was either 20 or 17, depending on which passage of time you have to admit. But you see, I knew where I was. I knew the girl I was trying to chase there at Flagstaff House, you know, and those sort of things. When we heard that May 15th, people have been arrested. In fact, on one occasion, I wanted to go to Bemba Hall to go and look and listen to the coup plotters as they were being charged. But unfortunately, before you reach there, the place is packed up, and you, a kid, they won't let you in. We Barracks boys didn't fear anything. You see guns and everything, but we're still going anyway. So,
Mansa Musa,
roughly,
you made...
1 second. Roughly, before Dr. Mansa, you come in, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the World Bank IMF commanding Akufo-Addo led government.
That's a big decision. We'll come there. Don't worry.
I mean, let me just start. Are we surprised because they just gave them
don't worry.
bailout?
Don't worry. We'll come there.
So they need to justify whatever.
Don't worry at all.
But whatever is happening is affecting ordinary Ghanaians,
yes,
not a World Bank representative who is
it.
living in Accra and is not visiting. Don't mind them.
We will come to that point in full.
Yeah.
We'll come
but Mansa Musa, let the panelists talk more, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so that it will be more
Dr.
interesting.
Mansa,
Yeah.
So I want to hear more from you, from specifics.
At the time, Mansa Musa, I was living with my dad in Asankregwa. And during that period, we only had access to GBC Radio 1 and 2. So all these news that was broken on the 15th of May, 1979, when they said there has been an uprising and lower rank officers were involved, and they arrested few, and later it was Jerry who agreed to have staged a coup or something, so he was arrested. So all these, we experienced all these from our radio, our dad's radio, because then we don't even have a TV. So we're listening from GBC 1 or GBC 2 when you don't even have the right to tune in the radio. So once, wherever that your dad will tune into, then you just go and hang somewhere and listen to what was going on. But you see, the tension it created, there was a different euphoria during that period. You see, when you go into the village, the city center, you see people crowded in 5 or 2, 5, 2 to 3, 2 to 5, discussing what is happening. And as a young guy, we were also have all the same fears, because we overheard our parents discussing the consequences of the coup and what is going to impact on our life and also the country as a whole. So we experienced it, and at the time, especially with issues to do with hunger, shortage of food, clothing and others. Because you don't have money to buy clothes, it's your father who has to buy for you. And when even where he has the money, he cannot have access to the clothes to buy. Especially food. You go to a place where they are preparing this donut. People would dip their hands into the donut, the oil, to get some to buy. We were queuing, our dads were queuing. That time we had what you called GNTC. The van will come maybe on monthly or sometime. Then you see a long queue, and people will be fighting. And when they are there, we just go there, stand somewhere, and we are just looking at people who are queuing to get some what do you call it, to buy. So it wasn't easy. And we are experiencing the same today. But the worst aspect is, today some of the food are on the shelves, but you cannot afford. That is the annoying aspect. You can see the food, but you cannot afford. Unlike those days where the food were not even there. And then in a can, somebody will say that, so when you want to say any time. But here, this time, you are seeing the food on the shelves of these various grocery companies or firms. But you cannot afford to buy. You cannot have 2 square meals a day in Ghana. You see, this is a problem. So when I was talking, the circumstances now has set the stage that led to June 4th, 1979. So if the Ghanaians refuse to speak, if the Ghanaians refuse to push this government to do the right thing, you can't predict the future. That is my fears. We cannot predict the future. Because if you go to a point where people can see the food in the various shops where they cannot buy, what will happen? It will lead them to break into these shops to have something to eat. Especially where you see the government riding in plastic cars in a long convoy and asking you to tighten your belt. Whilst he is losing his belt. How will you feel as a Ghanaian? And
so, in effect, you said, Dr. Mensah, you said
there are many ways
to
kill a cat.
So you think you still insist that a popular uprising of some sort will be justified. Before I go back to Alhaji Alassane Bamba, the current chairman of NDC UKRI chapter, I think we have another, what do we call it, guest here to share his or her view. I think I know the number, but hello, is that Lons?
Yes, Mansa Musa, this is me. Good afternoon.
Lons, can you come a bit up with your volume, because it looks like I've opened everything here and yet yours is very tiny.
Mansa, can you hear me now?
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Mansa, a very good afternoon to you and your 2 honorable guests. I extend my felicitations to the chairman, in fact, my honorable chairman, Alhaji Alassane Bamba, and Dr. Kobna Amenhia, or Amenhia. Forgive me if I get the names wrong, or if I got his name wrong. Mansa, today is a day that every reasonable person who has followed Ghana's political trajectory would feel sorry. Why do I say so? As a revolutionary myself, as a product of conscience, and as a proud member of the NDC, it is sad
NFM
that
Radio.
a day like this has not seen us do things differently or done things different from what really brought about the revolution. We as individuals and as a group has more or less behaved as if nothing actually brought us this far. I'll be honest with you, it appears that our core values of probity, accountability, and transparency has got nothing to do with how we even regulate our lives as individuals, let alone to talk of it as coming together as a union or as a group who wants to rescue our country from going down, and it's sad. I mean, if I want to talk about June 4th, I mean, personally, let me share just give me a minute, I'll share my personal opinion. Mansa Musa, it was until recent times that I stopped, this kind of commemoration. Ever since I've been in this part of the world, anytime it's June 4th, I always go home to be part of the commemoration. I've always done that on my own. Incidentally, it is my youngest sister's birthday. In fact, today is my youngest sister's birthday. She was born on the same day that the revolution took place. While saying that, let me wish Chief Malik a very happy birthday. I know today is his birthday as well, and together to my younger sister Enuya Agini. Mansa, my co-panelists have actually spoken and come up or illustrated certain key conditions that perhaps if it were to be in the days of old, we should have had another revolution. What brought about the June 4th itself, we need to start asking. After the 15th May, in fact, the failed 15th May attempt to rescue Ghana until it happened on the June of 4th, 1979, what were the reasons? If you should ask me, there wasn't that much reasons that as we see today. It was to seek justice, it was to create fairness, it was to honor the respect for humanity and fight corruption. Why do I say so? Gone were the days, or in those times, where you have people abusing their offices just for the simple fact that they were associated with characters or individuals who were placed in strategic places of political power or governance. As a political party, what have we done different? The late Jerry John Rawlings, together with the late Chikata, and all those fallen heroes, the Kojo Mohammeds and all those people, played a role to bring Ghana back from where we were supposed to be. They gave this great nation of ours leadership. People became aware of the fact that they needed to contribute their quota irrespective of where they found themselves, especially to the downtrodden people who at the point were alienated after the after the senseless overthrow of Dr. Nkrumah in 1966, 24th of February. Right? It was a time where nation building became more, how do I put it? Where it became part of what life was all about. You had no reason not to be part of what Ghana needed to be. Right? It was a proper revolution. So systems were put in place, the PDCs, the CDRs, programs were put in,
NFM Radio.
were put in place. I could talk about that program of the one which agitated the social, is it PAMS card? Program of action to
mitigate
meditate.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the actual acronym,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah. We all know the acronym PAMS card. Yeah.
That regard, yes. Where there were food, there were state shops where food products, because obviously my mom used to be a petty trader. Whilst in Kumasi, we used to go to Adum. There was one around the Adum Presby area where my mom would go and buy bags of beans and corn and a whole lot maize and all the kind of stuff. It was a time when our country was really ushered into it was an era where as a country we felt like we needed to be each other's keeper. I mean, there was that awareness where it really doesn't matter who you are. You need not to be associated with anybody before you get things going. Education in itself became a right, not a privilege, as we are seeing it today. It was where our level of consciousness was brought to that level where you needed to be aware of who you are as a Ghanaian. You needed to respect the ideals of what nation building was all about. So it was all about, you being there and offering your services to Mother Ghana to thrive. In terms of corruption.
So obviously, thanks that you have reminded us about the necessity, what necessitated the uprising, so to speak. That is fine. In a brief, words before I go back to Alhaji Alasan Bamba. Practically, where were you on June 4th? Maybe you can even tell me how old you were or what you were doing. Briefly, then we move on, please.
Mansa Musa, yes, I will tell you, to be honest, June 4th, 1981, I think I was a little boy in Kumasi. In fact, my mom suffered. In fact, my mom was a victim of June 4th. Let me be honest with you. I mean, because this whole business about Kalabule and all the stuff, at the time, she used to be a petty trader who hoard stuff, and she's been plying the routes of Aflao and Togo and all the stuff. So yes, she suffered. I was a little boy at the time, but I still remember growing up. How as a society, how we evolved, how we sort of came through, all the challenges as a community, where the curfews, by 6 o'clock, you needed to run out. You are not allowed to step out because you have, soldiers patrolling. I remember very well. I don't know if he's still alive. Colonel Oseusu at the time in Kumasi, himself and his boys or his troops would be, combing the streets of Kumasi, especially in the Dumaran, they are championing his palace and stuff. Yeah, so Mansa, I was a little boy, but I still remember, as I said to you, my mom was a victim of it. At a point, we are all angry, but for who I am, I believe that the right thing was done, irrespective of how my mom felt, and the fact that she was a victim of, her own actions never perturbed. I was not perturbed. I was not dejected to more or less, or reject the whole idea of the right thing being done in society.
Right, that is the voice of Mr. Alonso Ajini. He is a member of NDC here in UK Ireland chapter. Elaborating, in fact, rather, extensively the June 4th, what do we call it, uprising, the ideals, the ideas, the necessities of everything. Let me still remind you, the listeners, that, or the watchers, that you can phone in anytime on the numbers that you have or and I will let you in. Before I go to my guest here, let me quickly take a short commercial break. Not long at all. Bear with all of you, please. Bear with it. Very necessary indeed.
NFM Radio.
Abusiafo, sese die ye nam top connect so e mani sika de bagana e free wiase afa na nyina ye ntua ka pre. Ane aye free. Top connect amasika mani aye mrekra. Ye wo hia ne se wo be download wo top connect app no e wo Play Store. Di ama wo Android phone. Ana se wo use iPhone so a ko Apple Store na download the top connect. Aye simple kra. Top connect wa man be aduonum so wo Europe, North America and Asia. Wo mane wo dofu sika fa top connect so a aye tem na emre na mawa hoto so sese die sika manye di foforo kra any top connect se wo hia chechemu bia fre top connect e wo +442 081 6155 and a +442 081 761 600 +447 882 950 088 and na se hwehwe top connect e wa Belfont Interfidie nyina so top connect Fesika mane wadofo asumdie mu a wontia kapre. Top Connect yenso ye die
Abusia, let me go straight to the point. We found wada. Once you attack and send business, so your work can see come air conditioner, and also dumb air conditioning, and set up more can see no crane say. One funny papa and installation now, with everything called enterprise, air conditioning installation at the Mawa, Odemo, a Rubia, Okanu, a never cold room, it's a cold stores, and a Bavia, you didn't see, I was saying, you know, everything called enterprise. Every nice one at your Mawa, a Rubia, no, but you make the you install central air conditioning, split air conditioning, car air conditioning, never solar panels also. You want a nice Eddie Mawa, or you be a boost straight, not only in your body will fee. So, what do you say? And our gas in a sense, say you'll come with the another dear, and our cold store dear, Nina, a very nice and quick, but we will be a yet the amount. Most of more bridge, I'm always sit down, oh, my can one, open to me, I'm afraid you can lie with so. Yeah, be install air conditioning, Nibiamamu. Frank plus 447508650279. Oh, wager, I just sent Ghana Fire Service. Wow, Frank 0544489343 and 0302906276. Your website, you know, everythingcode.org. And I send you email, kjamwako@yahoo.co.uk. Everything called enterprise, air conditioning, master, no.
NFM Radio, Emudaho. NFM Radio.
Right, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to NFM Radio. This is Fire Bennu, a special Sunday edition, especially this we are doing to commemorate the June 4th, 1979 uprising. With me here in the studio is Alhaji Alhassan Mbamba, and on the two telephone lines, Dr. Mansa and Lons Ajini. The one who sent me message, you know yourself. Yes, you can phone, please. You can. And I've also sent you. It's serious. So you have tested me on my private number. You said I should send you a number. I've sent you. So please do call. Anyway, Alhaji Alhassan Mbamba, welcome back once again. So obviously, yeah, I know you have a lot of things to say about what everyone else have said, but I want to know your position, where you were standing that time. Where were you?
Yeah, I think I was in Boko that time, and I was still in primary school. For whatever reason, we in Boko had I would say, bitter experience of the revolution due to prevailing socio-political conditions in that town at the time. And if you remember, if you know, Boko is a border town with neighboring Burkina Faso and then Togo. 5 miles you are in Burkina, and about 18 miles you are in Togo. So Kalabule, if I may put it that way, was very attractive. So if you are growing up in Boko that time, as a child, you should count yourself lucky to have finished primary school or middle school those days. Because if you were into petty trading, buy a packet of a cigarette those days, I remember, you are likely to just across the border and sell it in Ghana, you are going to make over 200% profit. Even petrol, diesel, people were buying in gallons from the neighboring countries and selling it. And you were making profit. I did not. I was rather and that time I was even too young to even do that. So I won't say, but all what I can say, I was in Boko. I was in primary school that time. We saw what happened when late flight Lieutenant John Rawlings visited Boku. We left school. Our primary school was just facing where he came to meet with the delegation. Yeah, I mean, you know, it was very interesting and emotional because this afternoon when I was coming, I read a recount of what transpired on that day by a man, one Francis Zachary. This Francis Zachary happens to be my line manager when I was doing my graduate national service as the district boss of Boku Environmental Protection Agency, and he was the deputy regional director. So I was accounting to him director. But that was years later. But today, he wrote something about his experience and what happened in Boku when Rawlings visited. And I'm now recalling what happened. We were just part of it, but we didn't know what happened before that incident happened. But when it comes to issue of Boku, sometimes I don't want to be talking about it publicly. But what I can say, it is a town where two chiefs were fighting over ownership. So when Rawlings came to Boku, he called both chiefs and asked them to shake hands. And they did, which either two, we growing up in that town thought, oh, that is impossible. Yeah, he managed to do that in publicly, and we were witness to that. This afternoon, as I said, that my former boss wrote something to commemorate the day, and he was giving background to what led to that incident. So as I said earlier on, it was a bitter experience. It touched everybody. My dad, may his soul rest in peace, was a civil servant working with the veterinary service in Boku that time. You know, those days they form, is it PD, public work committees or whatever, at various workplaces. Yes. So he was one of them. Yes, just because those days, whether you like it or not, you have to be part of the revolution. And because of the shortage of the food, they were in charge of getting it so that they would distribute it to other workers. So I have my fair
So
share.
you want to say your uncle joined in under duress, not
my dad, my own dad. Not under. No. My dad became a.
No. You said those days.
No, those days. Yeah, no. He
yeah.
bought into it.
Okay.
He liked revolution. But what I'm saying, those who were no, I mean, to serve on the committee was not a force, isn't it? But he offered to serve on it, and then I started helping, and I was learning. He bought this book, Politics in Ghana, written by the former Speaker of Parliament, Professor Kwe. So I started reading that book at a very young age, and that gave me a background. Even before going to JSS, I was looking at the photos of the executions. I don't know, looking at it now, I don't know whether it was appropriate for me to be reading it at that age, because the execution of the military general, if you read that book, the photos were there when they were lined up.
Yes.
And so I was reading it, trying to understand. I mean, I don't think I was even good at it, but I was interested, just trying to find out what led to those kind of things. So we are where we are. So as a country, we just need to learn lessons and admit that June 4, whether we like it or not, has become part and parcel of our country's history. It's a landmark. How we relate to it, how we make it, to devise the pathway going forward is left to Ghanaians. It was, I would say, unfortunate, after returning to constitutional rule, it was outlawed as a public holiday. I think we should have maintained it as a public holiday, not to celebrate, but to reflect on the excesses of the day and take stock and see what we can learn moving forward as a country.
Dr. Mansa?
Yeah, Mansa Musa.
Take it away, take over. My other phone has just dropped on me, I don't know why.
As I was saying, Mansa Musa, I so stand by my opinion, and I feel that the conditions today calls for action from the people. And it is stated in our, what do you call it, in the national anthem and the rest, that we must defend our country, protect our country from such cronyism. You see, when you look at Burkina, when Blaise Compaoré was in power, who forced him out? It was the people, not the military, because they were not happy, as Ghanaians are not happy today. But it appears many are silent. And Mansa Musa, you and your people, if I say you and your people, you and your media, the journalists in Ghana, most of them are corrupted. The few who want to speak out fear for their life. So now we have no voice. Those who want to speak are scared. Why? Why should you live in a country where you cannot speak? You have no voice. You have no one to speak for you. Is that a country? And I believe that I am not praying, but I am fighting and urging people, either they will go to the streets to protest for the government to do the right thing. If the government could not withstand and the president will flee, then he flees. The better. Because we can no more condone this. I heard my chairman and Baba saying that we should exercise restraint. We have done that for the last 7 years. How long can we contain this government? Many are dying as a result of this reckless conduct. Look at what happened during the last election. Many lost their life, and there has not even been an investigation into that issue. How long can we continue to live under this crooked government?
So
thank you. It's very, it's very important.
Yeah.
I understand where my brother Doctor is coming from. People have different, if I may put it this way, resilient level. But as the incumbent, the current chairman of the UK and Ireland chapter, I'm speaking for the party. Our official position as a political party is to use the ballot box to effect change of government. I emphasize, NDC UK and Ireland chapter, as the representative of the mother party in UK, we are championing and propagating the official position of NDC. It's as simple as that. We have opportunities to effect the change. A couple of weeks ago, when Kumawo by-election, we demonstrated that Ghanaians are really yearning for change. There's another opportunity coming very soon in a North by-election. Today, we are going through all devious deals that because they seem to have an edge. The decision to expunge our MP's name from Parliament is another day's discussion. But you and I know the reason behind it, because I don't want to do that and they'll drag me to court for contempt of court. But we'll leave that for another day discussion. Is to give them an edge. So this is why I'm saying we have the opportunity to use the ballot box to effect the change. If we can vote and vote wisely and retain or support with resources, campaigning to make sure that NDC parliamentary candidate is re-elected to represent the good people at St. North, then we will still continue to have a hung parliament, and most of the things that they want to do, they can have their way, and come the 7th December 2024, they will lose majority of their MPs. John Mahama will be overwhelmingly elected as our next president and will continue to where we left in 2016 in building the country Ghana we all want. After people embarking on strike, yes, well, a demonstration is going on in France. It happened in Sri Lanka. The president left. It was a dynasty there. And Ghana, I mean, there was all indications that we won the 2020 election, even 2016. We failed to guide the ballot box. This time around, we are learning our lesson. We are learning. Political parties, a learning organization. What we are going to do to protect and preserve our votes come December 2024 is not for public consumption. So I have no doubt in my mind. We have endured it for the last 6 and so many years while trying to derail the political agenda, only for us to go back to the drawing board that we are going to return the country to democratic rule. And if we are not careful, our NDC would have evaporated. It happened in Burkina Faso. What didn't happen to the political parties there? It was disrupted. They started afresh. And since then, there's no political stability in Burkina Faso. Even in Cote d'Ivoire, well, it's a bit stable now because Gbagbo and Alassane Ouattara seem to be talking now. Do we have to subject the Ghanaians who are already suffering to another revolution or a civil unrest? No, we are social democrats. We are human-centered. We'll continue to appeal to the civil society, the international community to listen to our cry and make sure all what that we are praying for now, free, fair, and transparent election, and MPP will be confined to the dustbin for so many years because the way they have messed our country, when we vote them out on 7 December 2024, I bet you it will take them another 50 years to even dream of coming closer to the state of government. That is what is going to happen to them. So, my brother, I understand your position, I respect it, but I don't think it is in our best interest as a political party and as a country. And I'm only champion as an official representative of the party in the UK. I can only speak to what the party official position is. Thank you very much.
Laws. Hello, Laws.
Hello, Mansa.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Very good. It's only fair on the part of your chairman, your current chairman, that he takes that position. After all, you're a political party. So his view is that everyone will have to drink water and just remain calm until the right time that your party will gain the race.
I'm sorry, I hardly can hear. I hardly can hear you. I don't know if it's coming from my end or it's yours, but then if you could please kindly repeat.
What I'm saying is, it's only fair that your chairman speaks the way he has spoken, given that he's the chairman of NDC UK chapter. So the position he has taken on this particular discussion, this matter, do you accept, do you concur, or you think, or you want to take the position of let's say, a natural, neutral person not affiliated with the NDC? Where are you coming from, so to speak?
Yeah, Mansa, that's quite an interesting question. There's no way I can only go natural based on my leanings with the NDC. So I agree. In fact, I'm in tandem with what the chairman, the current chairman of the UK and Ireland chapter has actually projected out there or had actually spewed out. But then the point is that as a group, we need to start questioning ourselves. We need to more or less start dusting ourselves and asking questions if indeed, as products of the revolution, as some of us might claim, are we doing what is right? Because obviously that is what the essence of the revolution seems to stand for. That it was a moment in our nation's history where opportunities were created for people. It was a period where we needed to demand fairness and accountability from people who have been mandated to, do what is expected of them. It was a period where, leadership was supposed to be proven and inspire people and, take communities, societies, and the nation to another level, which obviously Jerry Rawlings and his group actually did, because we all felt that we felt leadership. There was something that we could point to. There was something that we could feel, as citizens of our country. Is that what we are feeling today? So in that sense, yes, I agree with the chairman. Before I narrow it down to, the sort of challenges that we are going through as a group, let me give me a little bit of time to talk about it nationally or, on that level. Dr. Kwabna has spoken extensively as to why, in his expectations, in fact, if I would get him right, he's even surprised that there hasn't been any popular uprising because of some of the things that we have experienced as a country. Whatever that precipitated the evolution or, the gave birth to, how do I call it, the revolution of June 4th, 1979, we've had 10 times of it. Look at the level of corruption, the level of nepotism and favoritism. Look at the flagrant abuse of political power and abuse of office. Let's look at how individuals feel that they owe our country. Look out for the lack of development and the creation of fairness and opportunities for citizens. I mean, the list can go on and on and on and on, but then it comes back to one thing. What it comes back to is that this nation belongs, certain people feel that the nation called Ghana or the country called Ghana belongs to them, and no matter whatever somebody says, they don't care about it. Else, as unfortunate as it is, or as it might sound, have we asked ourselves the circumstances or what led to the murder of the three high court judges and the late army officer? Have we asked? I mean, you and I are political animals. You and I are political watchers. Has anything changed? When you look at the trajectory, has things been done differently from how people will be so aggrieved and go to the court and wouldn't get justice, and at a point in time would decide to take the laws into their own hand to seek their own pound of flesh? Has things changed? So yes, I agree. But you see, when you look at from 1992, when you look at the wave of change that actually cropped, especially West Africa, when after the murder of Sankara, when not right, the masses of most of these countries were not really prepared for it, because at those times institutions were not ready. We have not actually come up with institutions which were ready to be independent and do things the way they were supposed to do it. But then we went for it. So that was the case with Ghana. And Mansa Musa, I would tell you that, to answer your question, I would have preferred, right, to have a leader who would have ensured fairness, probity, accountability, and transparency. In essence, what I'm trying to say is that I am not happy with these institutions where you go to court and because someone appointed a chief justice or loaded the Supreme Court or High Court or Appeals Court, judgments goes in their way, even when common sense will tell you that some of these cases that are ruled in favor of these people do not make sense. I rather would have preferred a more disciplined, a more serene, a more committed, dedicated leadership, which could have driven our country out of the doldrums. When you look at what happened in 2020 after the COVID, look at the amount of monies that were, pushed down to us. Have these institutions or has our political leaders been able to account for it? No. Why? Because they go to parliament. In as much as you have the opposition and the ruling government, it's only God knows if they are not, in bed to rob the masses. But I can bet you that if it were to be a military regime, there would have been proper accountability. Some of the decisions that were taken wouldn't have been taken.
Okay.
If it was an institution where leadership was abreast with reality, wanting to make sure that things were done properly, education, having an educational minister who would ensure that textbooks were provided on time, kids were fed. Indeed, if that program was rolled out, when you look at the health sector, don't forget that the NDC under Jerry Rawlings actually piloted the National Health Insurance somewhere in the Bunahafo region at the time in Koransa. So we were looking at things that were going to be done right with accountability. We don't have that now in the name of democracy. Why? Because they will tell you that you have to go to court and we have to allow institutions.
Right. So because of time, Lons, your view is well articulated here. We have 1 hour to go. We have to share the time. In fact, someone wanted to join from Accra. I couldn't because you are on this phone. So for now, what I'll do is you may have to listen in and then come in again because I need to do something with this phone. And obviously, it shouldn't be your last comment. So kindly drop the phone on me. I will accept that. And then just keep listening. And when the time for you to come in, I'll let you come in. Before I go to the next phone caller, Alaji Alasan Bamba, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what my brother Lons just said, our institutions that are supposed to be independent per the 92 constitutions seems to be letting us down. The Electoral Commission is more or less an affiliate of the ruling party. And almost all the independent constitutionally established bodies, after the court, you talk about them, they say contempt of court. And which is sad, because despite the military takeover rules in Ghana, there's no any military government in our history that has tempered or tried to interfere with judicial decisions. They are not asked to proceed on leave, like we see with politicians and MPs. The judiciary is not dissolved if there's change of government through the barrel of gun. So June 4th, 31st December, and the 1966 coup, for the first coup in Ghana, the judiciary was still intact. This mode of appointment to the judiciary is something that we need to review. I don't blame the current government too much on that because the 92 Constitution was promulgated during the time of PNDC. We organized it. For whatever reason, that's human nature. Late President Rawlings wanted to be in control. But after 20, 35 years of constitutional rule, we need to sit down and ask ourselves, is it fair the way members of these independent bodies are being appointed in Ghana? You have the president appointing the chief justice, told the court of appeal judges, members of the electoral commission, and you expect them to be independent. And no wonder this time round, Akufo-Addo even appointed card-bearing members of his party to serve on the electoral commission. Can we learn a lesson from other democracies to change this? Yes. Take this country and the United States of America. When it comes to the appointment of the members of the Electoral Commission, all the major political parties have representatives on the commission. So you take UK, you can Google and see. The Labour Party, the Tory Party, the Lib Dem. If you have a seat in Parliament, you have the right to have a representative on the Electoral Commission of Ghana. Do we have to decentralize our voter register? Yes, because in this country, it is the local authorities that maintain their register. So nobody will sit in Accra somewhere and manipulate it. We can decide not to do it that way, but do it on the regional basis. In the United States of America, the same thing. The members of the Electoral Commission is made up of representatives from the Republican and the Democrats and other key parties. People can check. I'm saying this because as a student of politics, when we are confronted with some of the issues in Ghana, sometimes I try to find out what is happening in other countries. When it comes to the appointment of judges, do you know in continental Europe, judges are appointed or promoted on competitive examination? It's not because of your links with the government or the president of the day. Can we change it? Yes, it's a possibility. We can initiate national conversation. Thank God the incoming president, His Excellency John Mahama, has made it clear that it's about time we review the 1992 Constitution. So Lawrence, I get your frustration with regards to independent bodies that are not independent. But until we change the Constitution and find out the root causes of the problem, we'll continue to have it. Even if NDC takes to it today, we can also decide to increase the number of judges at the Supreme, because there's no ceiling. Let's learn from other democracies, emulate best practice from other countries, so that we can build the Ghana we all want. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Comrade Yusuf.
Hello.
Hello, Comrade Yusuf.
This is Comrade Abdurrahman Bamba. Hello. Mansa Musa.
Yes.
Mansa Musa. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Sorry. Oh.
Yeah. This is Abdurrahman Bamba. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
You called earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did.
So the floor is yours now.
I went off the line. Yeah. So apparently, I'm calling in the spirit of June 4th today, just to remind comrades that June 4th actually gave birth to a lot of intellectuals, gave birth to NDC, which we are proud of being an all-inclusive government in Ghana today, with every tribe, every part of Ghana is involved in NDC. It is not one-sided tribal party, but it's an all-inclusive party that you can find everybody in. So I believe that it's throughout the spirit of June 4th that we've been able to get where we are, but also to say that we should be grateful that our country is in peace, and we have example of good leaders who are advocating and fighting that the peace of Ghana will still be as it is. Also, we pray that John Dramani Mahama comes back to power, and then with a lot of comrades like our able chairman Mbalba here in UK. If you listen to what he was saying, that really motivated me to call on the show, because I've realized if somebody is talking about the ideologies of NDC being a party that believes in the ballot box and Democrat, it tells a lot that you don't have to say you are a peacemaker, but it tells you that you are really a Democrat, and that's what we are fighting for. So that really made me call on this show, just to also support that and say, look, we believe that John Dramani Mahama will come, and he's the hope for all NDC. So that is why I called. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. Yeah. We are a peace-loving party. A broad church welcomes every Ghanaian.
Before you go away, let me ask you before you go. Is it the first time you are calling my show?
No. I've been calling.
Because I haven't seen this number before.
I called before. Just check your records. The last number is 360.
And you said your name is Mbamba.
Mbamba.
Abdurrahman Mbamba, yeah, Mbamba.
The same as yours.
No, Mbamba. He said Mbamba.
Bamba.
Not the MPP Mbamba. Okay. You know, MPP, they have, I don't know, we are online. You know, there was Mbamba, M-B-A-B-A.
You see, when I was in school, I remember Bamba.
Yeah, that's
and
Bamba.
We call Bamba. Now, Mbalba, yours is the first I've heard. Now, you two said Mbamba, and which is different from Bamba and Mbalba, right?
Yes, in the northern language, it's a bit intermarrying.
Yeah, it's close.
Of our names.
Okay. I tell you what, I need to write the proper
Mbamba
name attached to the number. Yes, That's why I'm struggling. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mansa Musa, can I speak then? I also ran off.
1 second. You wanted to say something quickly before I go to Doctor.
No, go to Doctor.
Dr. Menchia, let's go.
Yeah, Mansa Musa, I still stand by my call for the citizens, concerned citizens, to put themselves together and insist that this current government manage the economy prudently. And I will not go without saying that I will be happy to live under Mamadou Domboya in Guinea-Conakry than living under Nana Akufo-Addo democracy, where a place where we feel that when you have a challenge and you cannot have any redress, you will go to our courts. Are the most corrupt institution in the country. It is corrupt. It is alleged to have been corrupted by this government. How can I live under such a democracy without calling for protest, without calling for resistance to such reckless conduct with such colluding and skewed judgment? Mansa Musa, I'm giving you a statement. Mark it today, and it shall come to pass. I am aware, and I believe that the impending by-election, the NDC candidate is going to win, but these guys are going to use the court to throw him away or to throw him into the prison. Mark it today, and it shall come to pass. If NDC do not insist on the right thing to be done, especially from our courts, and we allow them to be given these skewed judgments, weird judgments, the outcome would be disastrous to NDC after the primaries, or after the impending by-election. And I always say that I cannot seek for peace without justice. I cannot. He who preaches for peace must also preach for justice.
For justice, I agree.
I cannot live under such conditions. No.
My brother Doc, we are in catch-22 situation.
All these developed countries, all the laws that have made these countries possible to be able to develop to this level were caught by protest. Gender bias in UK and the rest were as a result of protest. So why are we silent? We don't have voice. So what is the other tool that we can use? What is left to Ghanaians to force this government? Because the government is not listening. Even where they summon a minister to parliament, you see the attitudes. Even where they give questions, they don't even answer. And they are go scot-free. So if the people, the populace do not come together and force this government to do the right thing, we can no more live under this until next year.
Thank you very much, my brother. If the NDC as a main opposition issues directive today that we should embark on positive defiance, I will be the first person to respect that directive. But until that, we just need to go to the line of the mother party. I get your frustration. I don't even think we have democracy. I don't even think we have democracy and rule of law in Ghana. It's an another's rule of law, a perception of rule of law. But the problem we are having, let's not throw the baby with the bath water. We have democratic institution, we have electoral timetable, we are less than for 2 years to go to the polls. You embark an uncontrolled civil arrest today. It will destabilize the country, and then the election timetable will be derailed. That is my worry. And that is the worry of NDC leadership. But we are not cowards from our background. No, let me come. We are not cowards. I can lead the demonstration in this country. I can do it. But you need to, my brother Mansa Musa is an ex-serviceman. You have to take orders from above. There's still the NDC revolutionary tendencies in us. You have to fall in line. If the national chairman, General Mosquito, says, okay, or the leader of the party now, John Mahama, this is the way. But they won't go on that tangent because we are optimistic that we are winning the election. You see, with the cause, we can continue to expose them. We can criticize their decision without scandalizing the court. The decision on the Asen North MP is just a country that is refusing to think outside the box. The guy renounced Canadian citizenship. That time, COVID, the whole world came to stand still. Even in this country, some statutory time scales for certain things, like registration of birth, certain things from home office, they relaxed it because of the COVID. So they should have considered mitigating circumstances. In this country, you have to register a childbirth within 42 days, or otherwise you'll be charged with an offense. During that time, all those things were suspended. Who thought by now the world would have still been existing? We all thought the world was coming to an end. So why couldn't we as a country say, okay, it's an intention. The guy made an attempt, but we all know. Let's not talk about it. Doctor, I don't want you and I to be charged with contempt of court, because that's another way to spoil the chances of our potential appointees in future. It's a trick. They do that. You talk publicly again, but let's criticize them. Yes, I mean, that's why they are there as judges. Even the U.S. Supreme Court judge is not beyond criticism. Let's criticize them. Some of their decisions, sometimes you crack your head, try to read all the law books at your disposal, and you can't come to terms of what we are doing. How can a country say a birth certificate is not a form of identification? How can a country say that? The whole world, when they made that decision, I started researching. And birth certificate is the fundamental of all basic rights, because that determines your citizenship before you can go for other form of documentation. And because of that, UNICEF is even providing funding for countries that are lacking behind in birth registration to register their children. And in Ghana, we said birth certificate is not a form of our ID. And the most funny aspect of it, the UN Convention on the Right of the Child, which made it a mandatory for children to be registered as their basic human right, Ghana was the first country to ratify it under President Rawlings. Today, we throw all that into dustbin, and we are telling the world that our birth certificate is not enough to determine. Is it compulsory for somebody to go for a passport? This country, UK, where we learn all this, our administrative bureaucracy from, ID card is not mandatory. Passport is, the least you talk about it, the better. If you are not traveling, most of them, the wives are here. They have never applied for a British passport because they don't have the edge to travel outside the country. So these are things that we can continue to make a case. We can even make a case, take it to the UN. We as a country, we signed the UN Convention on the Right of the Child. That convention made it clear that birth certificate is the basic of all human rights. So why are we now saying? And then we can make a case that we are in breach of international convention. After all, nobody forced Ghana to go and ratify that convention. So when we do things like that, we'll get international committee to put pressure on them. I have intelligence that they might not push ahead with their ROPA. Why? Because there's no money. You can't go around begging IMF to give you money to pay your wages, and you want to use money to register Ghanaians living abroad. But you can't trust these people. Maybe they may be playing
Chairman, don't count on that. Too.
No, those people
if they are able to convince the IMF and the World Bank,
yes,
now they are completely batting on behalf of NPP or Akufo-Addo.
No,
if they tell them quietly, look, only you guys giving us extra money to be able to do the Europa thing, that we can win and stay and
yeah,
be.
I mean, we are ready.
They will fund that.
Look, as a party, I'm just saying it. I have no problem with Europa because I am very optimistic.
I have a problem with it.
No, if they can
will you ask me why I have a problem?
If they can do it everywhere, the parent law is clear on Europa. Allow Ghanaians.
Even if they can do it everywhere, even if they prove, I still have a problem.
No, Turkey just finished the election.
Are you really saying that?
I'm not
are you really saying that Akufo-Addo and Gabriel Chidako and the rest with Jin Mensa and the embassies around, they are genuine like Turkey?
No. Let me make my point clear.
I don't know.
Let's not digress. Let's not digress too much.
I'm not challenging your view. It is a conversational.
Yeah.
Trusting Akufo-Addo and Gabriel Chidako is like rubbing your nose with the head of a live viper.
No.
Be
what
careful.
I'm saying, we are fighting. We are going to fight. Look, what I will support my brother, Dr. Ambrose. When it comes to fighting to ensure free and fair election in Ghana, I will be pushing for it straight away. We can demonstrate that the basic requirement for putting your name on the Ghana's electoral register is the birth certificate. Let's start with that. We come back in demonstrations. But let's not go on the tangent that demonstration should be targeting the Electoral Commission with their irrational way of thinking. But anything that will try to destabilize the government of the day, which may lead to a coup or a civil unrest, let's not go on that tangent. Because at the end of the day, the electoral calendar will be derailed. We suspend political parties. A coup has never happened in Ghana without the suspension of political parties. And that's why up to now, CPP is struggling to find its feet. Because the 66 coup banned CPP members completely. Rawlings came and dissolved, Achampon dissolved the progress and whatever. Rawlings came and PMP and PFP were dissolved. Now we want NDC and PMP to be dissolved. And then we'll start from the scratch again. No, let's not go on that tangent. I have no doubt in my mind. If the election is going to be free and fair, John Mahama is going to win not less than 60%. And we are going to have not less than 200 members of parliament. So why are we trying to throw this away? So, but let's fight to make sure that the electoral system is free and fair. Because rigging of election is not on the election day, it's a process, and they have started it. So for that one, Ambrose, we can talk offline. We'll put pressure on our liberty because we are sitting on the fence, we are picking some of the things and tell them, let's start it. Let's put pressure. Let's go to APAC. Let's threaten them. This is what they are planning to do. We are not going to allow that. If we relax and they start the process now, that is where we will have ourselves to be blamed. Like what happened, I listened to Alaji yesterday. And Kosi Pratt was saying that at the Kumawo by-election, some members of the electoral committee forced some of our members, NDC members, so I don't know how true it is, to even sign pink sheet before the ballot box were even put for people to cast their vote.
That was true.
I mean, so this is a criminal offense. We made noise, and then at the end of the day, we fold our arms and we are sleeping. As a party, will we take disciplinary action against these agents? Is the Electoral Commission going to be official, take action against their people? Are we going to report the incident to the police and insist that those people should be punished? This is a rehearsal for 2024. And things like that, we don't even need to wait for the party leadership to do. The constituency executive, the regional executive of Ashanti region should initiate, make a formal complaint to the police, and those people should be arrested to serve as a deterrent to anybody who is thinking of doing similar thing in 2024. That I will support. But any military takeover, any civil war, civil unrest, whatever, no, let's not go on that tangent. But when it comes to that, fine. And let them not deceive themselves that if they rig the 2024 election, this time around we are going to say, oh, we are all Ghanaians, let back on. That one, then fine. At that point, we'll decide what to do. But let's leave that. We'll cross the bridge when we get there. Thank you very much.
You are listening to Mansa Musa want to chip in with Mansa Musa want to do the host work small. Give me a second. I will let you come in. You are listening to Mansa Musa with good friends here, good Ghanaians, good people, professionals. Today we've met here because they know and they understand, and I can say they love where their political lineage or political, what do you call it, affiliation, where it is coming from. And they are proud to always put their foot forward to let Ghanaians know where they stand. And that is why I share so much respect, or have so much respect, for these two gentlemen, Alaji Alasan Bamba and Dr. Akwesi. Is it Akwesi or
Kwabena?
Ambrose, Ambrose Kwabena Amensha is a lecturer here in UK, and they have devoted their time today. They have devoted their spirit, their energy, and everything, of which they could have gone to do their part-time work like teachers and everything, to earn money, rather to come. We are here to speak about the June 4th revolution, like Mbamba said, not as a joyous celebration as such, but rather as a reflection, understanding of why it happened, how it happened, what we got from it, if any, and going forward, how we must proceed. Because Lance also came in to tell us, explain his bit, and he went extensively into the necessities of that June 4th revolution, and made us aware that even today, what necessitated that action is very prevalent, or it is, justified today. We need, there is so much corruption. One word, corruption that brought about June 4th revolution. Corruption in so many forms, not only in bribery and taking money and this, but in SCCA, that is, unfairness. The general, you felt it. I was a Barras boy. Soldiers were afraid to go to Makola because they felt hated, because that time their officers, generals, had run the country for about 7 years, and the civilians weren't happy. They knew that the generals and their subordinates or their supporters had made big monies, huge sums of monies, and the other ranks didn't have nothing, but still they were all being blamed, put together by the civilians and told to go where the sun doesn't shine. There was so much that you could feel. I remember very well going to Accra to buy what we call Accra City, the center, from Emma Camp, to buy what we call Kambu, that's canvas shoe, yeah, Kambu. And it's, the moment they felt that I'm from the barracks, some few people, already started like, not fierce, but they didn't want to, charge me too much. Whilst others were telling me point blank to just go away and hide in that our dirty Mema camp with the guns blazing and that sort of thing, insult. Even though I was a young, in my teens, wasn't even a soldier, everything. So the necessity, the feeling that some people were having everything and the rest had nothing, the cheating in every way, even in military, police, and other promotions. If a woman, and your backside or your buttocks, every Christian would say backside malus. If your buttocks is a bit huge, your military or your police, your customs and exercise, the other, uniformed institutions, you got to see one of the top men be sleeping with them. Then you get promotion. It was the center simply was no holding. And the anger, before I go to Dr. Menshia, it comes in my mind and it goes. I remember around 86, 87, thereabout, Rollins had on scheduled debate with some pressmen and some people from Makola just in front of the castle, behind the castle, what we call post office area there, in the grass. And he told I remember who were following him, so he told the press people not to publish that one. And he said, look, I will tell you for free that the people are accusing, people did accuse the AFRC. This is after 1981, 31st. He said people accuse the AFRC of, putting some military generals on the firing squad and everything. And he said, look, Rollins said, look, I'll tell you, the anger in barracks those days, he said, if he, the leader, especially because he knew the pressure was coming to him from abroad, America and the rest of the world, that he should be careful because in future he'll be blamed everything. He said, if he and some of the top soldiers had not convinced, they actually had to look into the eyes of the ordinary soldiers to tell them, look, we are doing the right thing, please bear with us. Otherwise, he said there would have been too much bloodshed. So in all this, some people go about saying, Rollins killed him, it was bloodthirsty. Rollins, I would say he was rather fear man. He wasn't bloodthirsty at all. At all.
I mean, it is on record that he wasn't in charge of the execution. But, Ghana politics, we always try to make things too sensational to tarnish people. Yes, he was the leader, so he would take the elephant blame. But he wasn't directly involved. If he had resisted, he himself would have been to pay the price. That was the anger at that time. I mean, we don't know. Some of us were babies, but we have read. We have read much.
No. The feeling was bad. The feeling of the feeling. When they won the June 4th,
exactly,
they wanted to line up so many of the army officers. And it is true, so many of the civilians because they thought some civilians have amassed wealth. Some too were just like a revenge thing.
Even losing one's soul is important. It's very sad.
Yes.
So that's why I don't want us to glorify it. For me,
that's not glorification.
Let's
the
learn
truth
lessons
is what we are talking about.
Because I was reading somebody, is it Roger Fele and co?
Yes.
They took loans of just 50 Ghana cedis from a state
it wasn't because of what they took. It's not because it was that people had to be used as example.
So that's what I'm saying. But now can you imagine if we are going to apply that yardstick to what is happening in Ghana today?
That is why the I totally understand you.
You understand what I'm saying? So for me, that is a lesson that we need to learn.
Yes, big lesson.
Let's not kill anybody thinking that we are going to solve the problem facing our country. Because we have done it.
Doctor.
Those generals paid the price for it. And today we are in worse situation. So it's not worth it taking anyone's life just because we want to solve the problems confronted. Let's use the ballot box.
Doctor.
Yes, Mansa Musa, I just want to clarify this issue. I have not called for coup d'etat or any overthrow of government. But what I am calling for is what the Israelis did. At the time when the Israel government decided to initiate a controversial plan to overhaul the country's judicial system, the people went to the streets, protested, and the government was forced.
And they stayed on the street till they got their wish.
So it was stopped. Why can't we do the same?
Excellent.
I heard my chairman speaking to issue about what do you call it? Birth certificate. What sort of let me use the word reckless judgment was that?
Yeah.
And everyone is quiet. Few have tried other means, but it's not working. When you use one strategy, it's not working. You don't stick to the same strategy. protests and demonstrations are illegal. It is enshrined in our constitution. Why can't we use them?
Exactly.
I'm not even calling on the party, NDC, to do that. I'm calling on all Ghanaians, concerned citizens,
yes,
to go to the streets whenever they are not happy about the government decisions, to force the government to do the right thing. That's all what I'm calling for.
As long as we are not seen as the NDC party that's trying to do that. If they come out, we are Ghanaians first before NDC, and we'll join them to protest for peaceful demonstration.
Chairman, you see, as we speak, what happened to Professor Michael White? The government is trying to use the court to gag everybody.
Exactly, I know that, and I don't want you and I to fall victim to them. Not that we are cowards. Not that we are Professor White. He is a very brilliant guy, a communicator. So it's a strategy to silence him. Now he will be careful what he says. So I don't want you and I mean, I can say it, you can say it, but let's be measured the way we do it, so that at the end of the day, it's within the parameters of the law. Demonstration,
yes,
positive defiance, like the best, this birth certificate thing. Me, I will lead it any day, anytime. Look, I even proposed to people that we need to take this issue to the UN, because it's just unbelievable. You know, that's what I do for a living. I'm in child protection. When they came out with that, I spent the whole week doing research to see if there's any country on this earth where birth certificate is not the form of ID. And I came up with none. So where are we learning that from? We can't live in isolation. We can't. Because if somebody comes from Ghana into this country claiming that he's from Ghana for whatever thing, and I'm dealing with that, the first person I will ask, what is your birth certificate to prove that you are from Ghana? Ghana card or whatever they want to call it. It was brought recently. I don't have my Ghana card. They claim they are going to come to Europe to register, issue it. So does it mean that I can't vote? But anyway, next time I go to Ghana, I'll try and get it. You have not made things available, and you want to use it as the only requirement for people to put their name on the electoral register. What kind of a country is that? And the civil society, the clergy, everybody is quiet. Why?
The Ghana card has expiry date, but your birth certificate has no expiry date.
And look at the thinking. They claim that because the photo is not on the birth certificate. What kind of thinking is that? Do we have photos on this country birth certificate? Please, let's be serious.
Are they not the same people who said that if you are a lawyer, you can't advertise your job using the social media? Are they not the same people?
Oh, no. It's frustrating. I perfectly agree with you. The frustration is just too much. But let's use the right means whilst waiting for the Pools Day on 7th November 2024. I know we'll start celebrating. We are not praying for things to get worse, but the fact of the matter is that we can't see any improvement under Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led government. Not at all. Things are going to get worse, and Ghanaians by end of next year will even be pushing. And sometimes, I'm a fan of presidential system, but sometimes, okay, I mean, sometimes when things are getting worse, I say, okay, perhaps maybe a parliamentary system where you don't have a fixed tenure would have been more better. So that would have caused dissolution of parliament, go for early election, get them out. But unfortunately, we have this fixed tenure of 4 years. So our hands are tied constitutionally. There's nothing we can do just apart from trying to express our frustration, get Ghanaians to buy into our policies, and hopefully, we'll get them out through the ballot box.
Right. Let me, before you guys continue, let me read one or two of the messages on Facebook as quickly as I can. Namomo Lati say good afternoon, Chairman. So I'm sure, I believe she's greeting
Chairman Mbamba.
Exactly. Namomo. You know Namomo?
Yeah, I know her. She's one of our strong members in the UK.
So she should be a Ghana woman. I have a beef to discuss with the Ghana people. They are too soft for their own good. Now even the government want to regulate Omowo. We will come to that, but that's a different topic.
Another day's discussion, isn't it?
Yeah. Eric Koku Sapenu He said Africa. Let me see. Probably he said what? Africa corrupt officials are giving state escorts, bodyguards, state protocols, and pecs to wine and dine to Atopa. To Atopa's slave queens with taxpayers' monies until we introduce a definitive constitutional clause of a death penalty. This guy is serious. Death penalty. Yeah. Let me see. Is there a death penalty for corruption and its related variants? Oh, don't move too fast. Its related variant as a deterrent, this particular problem will persist. He goes again, we say, I agree with Chairman Bamba on the appointment of Supreme Court judges should exam, okay, the writing is a bit better, I understand, should come from examination or exam competitive based.
Yeah, in the continental Europe, that's
meritocracy, if we are to avoid cronyism and the infamous unanimous 7. So, yeah, these are some of the few messages.
And another thing, you know, our neighboring countries, the Gambia, they always appoint the Chief Justice from other countries. Justice Aban, late Justice Aban, who later on became Chief Justice of Ghana, was Chief Justice of Gambia. At the moment, we have Ghanaian lawyers sitting on their Supreme Court. So they are not interested in their domestic Gambian politics. We can try all those options because Ghana is a Ghanaian. But definitely has political affiliations.
The will, the political will is there, and the people or the leadership genuinely want, then it will work. But when the leadership want to do things, let's say you go and bring a South African, let's say you bring a Gambian, let's say you bring a Ugandan as a Chief Justice, before you see, they give him some mansion. They build him some mansion in his hometown at Kiwito or whatever they call them, their hometowns, and they will spoil him. So that is the problem. It's the leadership.
It's the leadership.
Otherwise, you understand?
I mean, we lack the political will, but unfortunately, that's what we have as a country. We just need to continue working hard, putting the right party and right government in place. I'm not saying NDC was 100% perfect because there's no human institution without problem. But obviously, since the advent of the Fourth Republic, NDC has proven that we are people-centered, we have the welfare of Ghanaians at heart, and anytime we are in government, things are a bit stable, the economics performing well as compared to Baumia Akufo-Addo's government. After Baumia, we'll talk about it later, that he wants to lead them. That's another day's discussion. Today is about June 4th, so let's limit it. But if Ghana should make any mistake and elect Baumia or MPP again, then Ghana will finish. Because what we are saying now, if Akufo-Addo is going to be sitting home and remote controlling Baumia, that time all the blame will be on him. And he will have a say because he's not a man of himself. He won't have a say. We saw what happened in 79. You know what led to the 81 coup to some extent? Because people claim Dr. Hilarion Mann was an outsider. And it is true. He wasn't meant to lead the PMP. It was Imoro Igala. I think you know this.
Yes.
It was only when Imoro Igala was disqualified. And then they brought Liman from Paris to come and
I have a gentleman, old boy here, very high in Nkrumah CPP.
Let me finish this.
He said when later they realized that even Liman wasn't a CPP.
You know, he was UP.
Yes.
He was UP. He contested.
It was too late.
So what is the difference between Liman and Baumia? We know Baumia was NDC. Let's not even talk about senior Baumia because that's another day's discussion. Baumia, mother, his father, whatever, they were NDC. And that's why he's going to have it stop. You see, I mean, he may, surprisingly, win their primaries. But the reason for him winning, not because they believe he's going to win them the 2024 election. No. They want to continue with their create and loot share schemes.
And hide.
And the only way Akufo-Addo and his group can continue to milk our economy until they are voted out is to put somebody like Bawumia in charge. And then they'll say, okay, they say we are discriminatory. At least we are giving them a chance. He messed it up. Next time, no one will blame them. And they will regroup and elect the real owners of the country to try their luck again. They know the man can win. They know. But if they make a mistake and put Alan Cash today, Alan Cash is going to come out with his team, and all the contracts, all the schemes they are going to do in their campaigning is not going to benefit. And Alan Cash team may use it to get money to prepare themselves for subsequent primaries. We all know this. So nobody should be perturbed about Bawumia winning and not winning. I'm not even worried. Let's concentrate on our June 4. But you see, in political discussions, sometimes you have to digress into certain areas to make it lovely and interesting.
At this juncture, let's listen for about 5 minutes the speech that Rawlings made those days.
Countrymen, it is nearly 1 month now since, by the spontaneous action of the junior officers and men of the Ghana Armed Forces, the government of the Supreme Military Council was overthrown and the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council was established. That action represented a revolt of the ordinary Ghanaian against social injustice, against economic hardship, and against the cancer of corruption that had eaten deep into the fabric of our society. I've come to the studio today to brief you on the latest state of the revolution and to share with you our thoughts on the future of our dear nation. I do this in the conviction that there can be no revolution unless the people, all of us, really understand what it is all about, and springing from that understanding, genuinely commit our support to it. Let me remind you again of the stated aim of the revolution. The action taken by the junior officers and other ranks of the Ghana Armed Forces was motivated by a desire to bring justice, social, economic, and political, to all citizens of Ghana. After 7 years in office, the army was going back to barracks without any steps having been taken to punish those who had tarnished the name of the armed forces. This situation posed a threat to the continued existence of the armed forces and the stability of the country, hence the spontaneous action of June 4th to preempt a coup immediately after handover to a civilian administration. We have all heard from every political party say how corrupt the country has become. But from past experience, we know that none of them would do a thorough job of eradicating corruption once they came into office. Since the future belongs to the young, it was felt that we must safeguard the supreme national interest and bring social justice into the body politic. The main purpose of the exercise is to ensure that the gap between the haves and the have-nots, the rich and poor, is bridged. This is a limited objective which would help the incoming administration to take all necessary long-term measures for bringing stability to the nation. I know that there are many Ghanaians and many friends of Ghana abroad who have been distressed by some recent developments. We have also been made aware of the depth of feeling, both at home and abroad, about the turn of events in Ghana. Ghana has had a long tradition of tolerance and respect for the rule of law and internationally accepted principles of justice. The fear, both within and outside Ghana, is that we may now be abandoning this tradition in favor of some arbitrary conception of instant justice. This fear, though understandable, is not well-founded, as a better appreciation of the circumstances will reveal. Let me tell you in simple language. The people of Ghana have endured hunger for far too long. There is not one single worker who could make ends meet, and the miracle is that the people have been able to endure this for so long. You may say that this has been possible because of our excellent tradition of tolerance and patience. But patience and tolerance can be dangerous because they allow a buildup of anger to such an extent that when the bubble finally bursts, there can hardly be a way of containment. Countrymen and friends of Ghana, we must thank God that this pent-up anger did not erupt as it might have. The threat to the unity of the nation was real. If we had not acted the way we did, the nation could have faced total disintegration. In the circumstances, we have exacted the supreme price in the conviction that it was the only way to save the situation and to leave a lasting legacy for Ghanaians yet unborn, and that when one attains the highest office of state, one should learn to serve the people and not lord it over them, and be prepared at all times to account for their stewardship. Countrymen and friends of Ghana, let me assure you that Ghana will not abandon her traditions of respect for the rule of law and the principles of justice. We have not abandoned and will not abandon our respect for human rights, and we are fully aware of our obligations under the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. Nonetheless, the laws of Ghana will still be operative, and those found guilty from now on will be dispatched to penal farms and their properties confiscated. To ensure that the properties confiscated are not returned to the deprived owners by any successor government, all such properties shall be vested in the state. The fears entertained that properties once confiscated would revert to the dispossessed are no longer valid. This is because the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council has safeguarded against this by making specific provisions in the transitional provisions of the promulgated Constitution. The tough methods that the revolutionary forces are using and will continue to use in grappling with the situation cannot endure them to everyone. There are signs that some elements in our society are engaged in activities that may sow seeds of discord and create disaffection for the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council. These include unauthorized actions of uniformed personnel, some businessmen who may be using their influence and wealth, and even some supporters of the revolution who, in their zeal, encourage excesses in the various exercises we have embarked upon. The total sum of these activities constitute a challenge of threat to the security of the country. To combat this, we must strengthen the solidarity of the forces, strengthen discipline, and reinforce combat readiness. The Armed Forces Revolutionary Council has set about this task, and we assure the nation that we are ready to deal with any threat to the nation. In this connection, the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council wishes to issue a serious warning to all those who may wish to take the law into their own hands. The maintenance of law and order is a paramount objective of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, and it will ensure this with all the vigor and zeal at its command. Fellow countrymen, Through the efforts of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council,
4 minutes more, we should finish it, innit? This one, okay.
Achieved some success in forcing prices down to more tolerable levels. We intend to maintain the momentum so that the ordinary man will reap the full benefits of our concerted actions. But our ability to do this will depend not only on the cooperation of all, but also on hard work and increased productivity. Additionally, we of the armed forces and the police must regenerate confidence in the people. Let them feel that we are their protectors and not their oppressors. Our farmers in particular must be encouraged and made to feel that they will be assisted and not harassed when they bring their food to the marketplaces. We of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council regard this as a pledge to them. Questions have been asked about the future. Let me make our position clear once again. When we decided to reappoint the civilian commissioners to their post and to entrust them with the administration of the government machinery, that did not mean that everything was all right in the civilian sector. All aspects of the house cleaning exercise are well in hand. More than this, we did not want to interfere with the process towards civilian rule. This has been underscored by the holding of the general elections on schedule and by our various consultations with the political parties aimed at ensuring a smooth transition to civilian rule. Finally, let me address an appeal to you all, citizens and friends of Ghana, wherever you may be. Our nation is passing through the most crucial period of her history. There is a need for understanding and sympathy of our problems. While we seek to redress the wrongs of the past, we remain committed to the ideals of human dignity that Ghana has subscribed to since independence. In this connection, we assure the law-abiding foreign nationals in our midst that they will enjoy the same protection and rights within the law as Ghanaians. This protection will, however, not be extended to foreign nationals who insult the dignity of the Ghanaian. Foreign nationals who treat their Ghanaian workers with contempt will be kicked out. We have taken note of the appeals for restraint from the world community, especially those from our sister African states. We wish to assure them that in the spirit of brotherhood and African unity, we would heed their advice. In the same spirit, we expect our friends to make a close and sincere study of the peculiar problems that face us today and to be a little more accommodating. Let us close our ranks and together strive to achieve these noble aims and prepare the ground for a better tomorrow. Countrymen, you're either a part of the problem or a part of the solution. Thank you.
So, you know, in the quiet light of the day, when after the initial jumping through the hoops and shouting and kicking and everything, now this speech was quietly delivered, and not much can be argued with at all. All what he said was on point. In the end, I think what made you shook your head is that you are either part of the problem or of the solution. I need to go back to Doctor, but say quickly before I go to him.
I mean, if you look at what Papa Jimmy said, he said plans were far advanced for the country to return to constitutional. The timetable was there. He didn't derail it, he maintained it. The question people kept asking, if there was things in the to return the country to constitutional rule, then was there any justification for the June 4th anyway? But as I said earlier on, political observers that time and intelligence didn't believe that General Kufuor was bent on returning the country to constitutional rule.
Not even so.
And then there was conspiracy theory they were intense to hand over. It was a palace school which Akufo took over. And there was that perception that Akufo would have handed over to late Odati Walente as well. And that was why, as the army commander, he was seriously resisting the June 4th uprising. And unfortunately, he died on the battlefield.
Well,
all these are theories.
From the explanation that you
said, so he, Rawlings, and other intelligence, military intelligence, didn't even believe that we are going to hand over peacefully to any constitutional elected. Hence the June 4th uprising. That's another perspective to it, so that people would not continue to blame Papa JJ for stating what some see to be unnecessary.
But he made it very clear from the beginning of that statement, that speech, that the armed forces were going to hand over to civilians. Okay, thank you. We're going to hand over to civilians without
clearing the mess. Exactly.
So they were going to hide their booty, their everything. So even if they were going to hand over,
they was
necessary for him to come and clean up.
No, because they were not going to prosecute themselves, isn't it? Yes.
So, it answers the question. Dr. Mansa, we are nearly up to time, so bring your final conclusions here, please.
All right. To Mansa Musa, to conclude, if I infer from the clip you played a moment ago, it justifies what I have said already. One, you were talking about Jerry and his other military men having a fear that the then military junta will hand over indirectly to themselves. What is happening today? We've held the president of Ghana mounting a platform and saying that he will never hand power to the opposition even when they win. And he's going to hand power to his party. Everyone is silent. Everybody in the country is silent, even the opposition. And it seems we are taking that statement for granted. And it's been repeated by the party force and also those who are closer to the government. Brian Achampong and co. But it seems the NDC and the other the minority party are silent. I don't know, maybe we have an antidote to that. That's why they are silent. However, even where the NDC is preparing and have an antidote to that, they should voice it out. They should let the populace know that that statement was reckless, it was needless, and it can rip the country into pieces. You see, another area that I'm talking about, if you listen very clearly, all the causes that the late president, JJ, outlined, we are witnessing worse today. We are witnessing worse today. So I will always, as I said, I will prefer to live under Mamadou, what do you call it, Domboya in Guinea-Conakry than living under democracy in Ghana. I will use this platform to call Ghanaians to use what is left to them, that is protests or demonstrations, to kick against any government decision that they say it seems to them that is not prudent decision. Look at what is happening now. The IMF are coming to buttress the president's decision that it was the then government that created the mess and a whole lot of nonsense. Mansa Musa, do you have trust in IMF? Are you aware of the program this government put before them before they were granted this $3 billion? Are you aware of the programs? You see, this is the country we live in. And the government is also making all attempt possible to gag the media, to gag the populace, using our courts. It's sad, but let's hope that we will be able to contain the situation until next election. But as I always say that anything is possible. Nobody should have in mind that Ghana is peaceful, so nobody is going to act. We never thought of Cote d'Ivoire is going to rip into that crisis, let alone Liberia and the rest. But it happened. Campori flew to Cote d'Ivoire. What happened? The people moved to the street and he couldn't contain the situation. And the best option was to run away. But what I'm all calling for is the concerned citizens of Ghana must insist on the right thing to be done. We should not allow the government to come in the name of community mining, to destroy our water bodies, to destroy our vegetation, the cocoa plantations and also the coffee farms. The rest, everything is being destroyed by this government. Now we cannot drink from our rivers or streams. What a country. I don't expect this from a democratic country. And everyone is afraid even to move to the streets. You have no voice again. A democratic state. So, Mansa Musa, that's all what I'll call for, that Ghanaians must act as Ghanaians, as our forefathers did to secure independence for us. We should fight to protect it so that the generation unborn will not one day, even when we are in our grave, curse us that our forefathers, that is we, were stupid to allow this reckless conduct to rip the country apart. So once I will thank you for this opportunity, and I will always avail myself when there's opportunity, or you offer me the opportunity or your platform to speak. I will speak as a Ghanaian. And we will ensure that the right thing is done. I mean, right now, I'm ready. If anybody set up online, account for us to contribute so that we can organize Ghanaians to resist the oppressors rule in Ghana now, I'll be the first person to pay. We are fed up.
Thank you, my brother. You know what? I support your enthusiasm, but let's contribute to help NDC to recapture power. As
for NDC, I'm contributing to my constituency, whatever that I can do.
And I know, as usual,
I'm doing
the government machinery will move into a north. Our money, the IM bailout, they will use everything to see if they can kick MPP and this out, but it's not going to work. The people are saying North are enlightened. They are going to vote with their conscience, and they will vote for the right parliamentary candidate to continue to represent them. But if we have any resources, we as a chapter will definitely come out with a plan on how to support us in North by election.
We are ready to support, Chairman. Whenever you set up anything, we are ready to support.
Thank you.
Mansa Musa, thank you very much.
Thank you too for your time, your devotion, and everything. Well spoken, and I think we've all enjoyed listening to you. You are not just Mr. Titles for nothing. Your depth knowledge of events and your general intelligence is there for all to see and to feel. Thank you very much. Before you go, though, to do respect for those sending message, you said, let me see if I can see it well. He said the government of Nana Akufo-Addo and his Nokofio Patapa party, NPP, Nokofio Patapa party, appointees are potential candidates for Sawam Ayo. Then the same man goes again, says, as for handing over the reins of government after 2024, it's a must to avoid a bloodbath. Then I have, let me check this thing quickly. Let me read before we all sign off. This one. Ghanaians, Nee from Forest Gate here in London, say Ghanaians are timid and our fundamental problem is the judiciary. Akufo-Addo is using the Supreme Court to intimidate Ghanaians. Right. So, Alasan,
yes.
Alaji, your final counts, please.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning of this program, we are not here to celebrate. We are here to interrogate, to reflect on the conditions that led to the June 4th uprising, so that we can try to learn lessons to avert situations like that from happening to our dear country again. But wise learning from the lesson from the excesses, it's only fair for us to acknowledge the importance, the significance of June 4th uprising in our current political dispensation. We cannot decouple June 4th from 31st December revolution. It was the June 4th uprising that gave late Jerry Rawlings the popularity which made him to stage his second coming, which was welcomed. And because of that, the lessons of June 4th, he remained in office from 81 till 92 when he handed over to himself, because Ghanaians had confidence in him that time and they wanted him to continue. You ask yourself, was it necessary? It was, because it laid a foundation so that when we were planning to return the country to constitutional rule, given the lessons of the past, President Rawlings that time said, we are going to devise a constitutional arrangement that will have the wishes and aspirations of the ordinary Ghanaian. Hence, the market women, the farmers, the fishermen contributed to the drafting of the 92 Constitution. And no wonder it became our longest attempt to consolidate constitutional and democratic rule in Ghana. Despite whatever difficulties we are going through today, because of the excesses of the past, or especially June 4th, we don't have the appetite to resort to the barrel of the gun to effect the change of government. We have the timetable, and that is the handiwork of President Rawlings. December 7th, every 4 years, we have to go to polls. So we are waiting for that. So all what I can urge Ghanaians across the globe, the situation in our country may appear hopeless, but let's not throw our hands in the air in despair, because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We have President John Mahama, who was overwhelmingly elected by the largest political party in Ghana as its flag bearer. NDC is the biggest political party in Ghana, that is the fact. And for a candidate of the biggest political party to have chalked that percentage, historic, almost 99%, shows how popular the man is in NDC. And NDC is the miniature of the national political landscape. That shows that John Mahama is on course to be overwhelmingly elected come December 7th, 2024, so that he will come out with a selfless, human-centered administration that will help to build the Ghana we all want. Those who lost their lives during the excesses of June 4th, may their souls rest in peace. And we continue to pray for them so that we don't subject our country to whatever happened during the June 4th revolution. And may the soul of President Jerry Rawlings, who led the June 4th revolution, to rest in peace. May his ideals, principles, and values continue to shape the NDC political philosophy so that we can transpose it into our national administration if we are in government. Thank you very much, and good evening to your cherished listeners. Mansa Musa.
when I'm talking, okay? Hello, listen.
Ghanaian leader, Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings.
All planters, do you have corn? I'm talking about planters, not diggers. Let me see you by the hand. Up. Good. Now, those of you who have the corn sacks, go and supply. But you've got corn in your left hand. Jesus Christ. Okay. Now, those of you with the sacks, better watch out and feed us, okay? Now, where is he? You take over.
These are some of the few clips that I just decided to play for you. You can't see the video, but at least the sound. Rawlings taking salute at Independence Square or Blaster Square, and a few of his speeches here and there. We'll find time to edit. If you want some of these things, I can send them to you anytime you request it. But today we have been here for the past 3 hours or more to, as Chairman Bamba said, not to celebrate as such, but to commemorate, to think about, to reflect, and see what we got wrong in the first place, how we arrived at June 4th, what, it entailed, whether we got some things right. Going forward, what can Ghana really do? Because in any case, whatever it is, we have to strive. But sometimes some of us, let's listen to this just a little bit.
There are still some people who would like the nation to go back to childhood. Such a person was the man from the Osu People's Defense Committee, most unfortunate, who got up to speak at the budget debate at Parliament House recently, and who said that everything was fine when the white man was here. And so we should bring him back to help us. This man, and others who think like him, longs for the dependency of childhood.
Right, so that is a little bit of Rawlings for you, and hopefully, like I said, anytime if you want more of it, I can research them and send it over if you want me to do so. Thank you all for listening, and may God bless you and I and Ghana and anything that we believe in
this country is to establish a situation where even if it was the devil who should come and sit on top of us in Ghana, by virtue of certain procedures, certain practices, the devil cannot get away with doing whatever he wants. He would necessarily have to do what the people expect of him.
We've been through the pain of colonialism, and today we're going through colonialism, neo-colonialism, in the sense that what I'm trying to say is that there was a time when we saw the white man, our colonial powers, as our enemies. But I think, no, not that I think, something that is worse than an enemy is a traitor. Yes. And when we won our freedom, some of our countries were led by some of the most noble nationalists, of our time. But at the same time, with the passage of time, some of them became treacherous and rather betrayed our aspirations. In effect, what I'm trying to say is that as bad as an enemy can be, I think something worse than an enemy is a traitor. We've ended up evolving in the process of trying to modernize. We've ended up being westernized to the point where, as I sit here before you, when I wanted to even name my children African names, heroic names, I'm a Catholic. The Catholic Church, or that character, back at home, said, no, I cannot. There'll have to be
Catholic names. I mean, those Catholic names are European names. I went through an argument with this priest, and I said, listen, I have a right to my identity. Don't take away my identity. Okay? I mean, Christianize me if you may, but don't Westernize me. There were times, my wife and I is a great graphic artist. We made some beautiful Christmas cards that depicted Christmas in an African setting. And the Christmas cards sold so well, even with Catholic nuns, white Catholic nuns. We wanted to secure the patent. I went to an office, the Registrar General's office, to secure the patent. Can you believe that this fellow African, Registrar General, looking at my black personality, black face, told me that, no, I cannot. This was long after independence, and that it's going to take about 3 years. I said, why 3 years? He said, it'll have to go to England. It'll go to England, and it might take about 3 years before I'm granted the right to that patent or whatever it is, the register. In other words, in effect, what I'm trying to say is that, oh, so I have no right to even my creativity. I create my own, you take it away from me, and you have to send it to the colonial power. 3 years later, when they have reproduced it, and I have no more right to it. So as an African, when you're talking about democracy, etc., let's put it aside. Let me bring you to the current modern situation. We end up with injustice, we end up with corruption, we end up with poverty, we end up with the worst possible things, we end up with the image. I don't have to tell you the image that you have in Africa. I don't have to tell you. Please, I know the potential of humanity. So when you're talking about the effects of some of these things, sometimes, these superpowers must learn to accommodate and to live and to accept patriotic leadership, patriotic citizens. Too often, they're happier with people who are not patriots. But if the media, especially in America, for instance, could give you both sides of the story as pertains to foreign policies and foreign actions, you will bring so much pressure to bear, because you still live in a world with the capacity and the ability to be able to influence your presidents. You can impeach your presidents like in America. So you, as a people, still have power, unlike us. In Africa, they disempower. Let me just say something. I have a little theory that the world is manipulated. I may be wrong, but the world is manipulated by the multinational corporations, the media, some parts of the media, and the intelligence apparatus. They work as a triumvirate, and they are neatly sandwiched like the ham, like your tomato, whatever it is. They are neatly sandwiched in between the governed people, the governed ordinary people, and the governors. That is where the manipulation takes place. And there is a symbiotic relationship between the triumvirate and sometimes at this level. And if we do not make every possible attempt to return morality, when we're talking about the immorality of international politics, the immorality in business ethics is also percolating downwards, and the criminal, corrupt thing that goes on in my world is bad. So the sooner we begin to return, to restore some sense of morality in business ethics, in politics, in the media, intelligence apparatus, with beliefs, conviction that this is wrong, etc. After all, if you're talking about globalization, then please, let the same value, what is good for the goose, let it be good for the gander.
Honorable Dr. Idris Musa Andene.
It is simply humiliating that in the 21st century, our continent finds some of its leaders hounded to the Hague like lamb to the slaughter, while we are supposed to have the capacity to judge our own. We have to leave. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to leave the Hague to those who cannot control their destiny. If Libyans were perceived or seen as being qualified and justified to overthrow the Gaddafi regime in their quest for freedom and justice, why then are they not qualified and good enough to try their own?
Let me ask you something. Did you used to drive a BMW? Well, if you drove a BMW with a diesel...
NFM Radio. NFM Radio. NFM Radio.
NFM Radio, emu daho. Minua, tie fire will burn you. NFM Radio. Jumedia Mansa Musa ede bro. Juada kopem memneda. Enumre non song. Ekopem non do. Listen to Fire Will Burn You on NFM Radio with Mansa Musa Monday to Saturday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Make sure I'm a sewa about FM. I'm done, I'm a summer done. I'll tell you way. Yeah, about FM. Oh, Amy around. It's about Kosrama Sewa. Make him catch the yo. And you do, never see. And hum, there you go. Now, Sam, look, and I remember. Listen, Amy. Mama guitar, Maka Masa, show there.